لو كان سلعة تباع لبذلت فيه الأموال العظام أو صعد في السماء لسمت إليه نفوس الكرام.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome all viewers and listeners to yet another episode of At-Tibyān Podcast, which is a project dedicated to helping examine with knowledge contemporary affairs happening in our Muslim communities. Likewise, we discuss topics such as studying in Saudi Arabia, benefiting from some of the most prominent Islamic scholars of today, how to apply to the different universities, juggling marital life, along with studies, self-improvement, education, books, and much more. There will be new weekly episodes uploaded every Monday at 9 p.m. KSA time, 6 p.m. UK time, and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Insha'Allah ta'ala, feel free to send any of your questions and topics that you would like to have discussed on the platform. And we're looking forward to hearing from that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How you doing, bro?
Haykallah, I'm good, man.
Alhamdulillah, it's back. Alhamdulillah, Khair. It's back to just us two, huh? For this week.
It feels weird, man.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, I like the guest system, though. The guest system was pretty nice, having a guest on and, adding to the conversation.
No.
And I think also when people realize what the guest system kind of like was supposed to be about, like the blueprint for it, I think people better respected it and understood it.
Yeah.
Because some people were, they were like, the guest isn't really talking that much and things like that. And it's like,
They thought it was an interview.
they thought it was an interview,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's like, no, that's not really the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be like them joining the conversation, having a cup of coffee with us and talking about these mawdu'at.
Exactly.
So alhamdulillah, I think after that was understood, it went really nice. And I liked
Yeah.
it. I'm looking forward to having more guests on, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah, every guest brings something special, I suppose. I mean, I know that you choose your guests very carefully, mashallah. So, alhamdulillah, it's good to bring on people that have different backgrounds, different strengths, different takhasusat and specialities.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, anybody who come on and add something as far as Tibyan, that came a Tibyan to the actual platform, clarifying something that they might have some knowledge on. They can add to the conversation that we can't,
Yeah,
possibly.
Definitely.
So, alhamdulillah, let's jump right into it with some of the weekly announcements, some things that's been happening throughout the week. I know you had a lesson that I believe you started recently, right? Or you're starting soon.
Yeah, so I think we talked about study period 2 a couple of months ago that, alhamdulillah, finished. Now study period 3 again after a break. I think it was meant to be a 2-week break, ended up being 3 weeks.
Hold on, what study period was that?
Yeah, so basically after obviously I started teaching maybe 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And what would happen is I'll be teaching throughout the year with no particular schedule. So there would be cancellations and the stuff, and it was very difficult. So I decided to make like an academic calendar, kind of like plan out when I'll be teaching and when to take a break. So we have like 6 study periods in the year, 3 terms. And so basically teaching for 4 weeks and then 1 week off for revision and then 1 week holiday and then teaching 4 weeks like that. So that way, students get time to revise, because you don't just want to study 12, 13 weeks in a row. The most important thing is to revise and remember and memorize and put what you've learned to practice. So 4 weeks of study and then 1 week off.
So right now you're in the
third one now for this
one.
year, alhamdulillah.
So, mashallah.
Yeah.
And this is for the Arabic lessons, huh?
Yeah, no, these are for all my classes. So I try to keep all of my lessons within those study periods, so that it gives me a week or 2 off as well to, regather. I mean, all of these lessons, they take a lot of preparation. So
yeah, of course.
Sometimes you need a break. So alhamdulillah, I mean, study period 2 went generally well, even though I suppose doing 6 classes wasn't such a good idea. It's quite difficult.
So explain that again, just for the viewers who may have missed that, because I know we talked about it probably like a month ago, or maybe even longer actually. Maybe longer.
Yeah.
So the lessons that you're teaching, you say you're teaching right now 6 lessons. What exactly is involved in that?
Yeah, so I was teaching the tafsir class, the usul al-thalatha class, I had an Arabic essentials course and an Arabic conversational course, and also a class for youth, and a dua and dhikr course. So in total it's like 6 lessons, 7 lectures a week, so that was too much.
Allāhu.
So alhamdulillah, I mean, right now we're doing all of them apart from the youth class and the Arabic essentials course. I've kind of like put those 2 on hold for the moment, just to get, because the thing is, akhi, it's as far as I'm concerned, the way I like to do things is I like to focus on active learning, not just passive learning. So instead of just turning up and lecturing the people and then going, I like to create a lot of extra learning resources.
Of course.
I make notes, create quizzes, practice exercise and these sort of things. So what happened last time is, because of the sheer amount of lessons, I never really got a chance to do these sort of things. So student engagement kind of dropped. So for this term, I'm just going to have less lessons, but then put more time into those lessons and create more learning resources, inshallah ta'ala. That's the idea anyway.
And you're doing this on Zoom, right?
Yeah, all the classes are Zoom, alhamdulillah.
But then they're also broadcasts on YouTube?
Yeah, broadcast on YouTube as well, yeah.
Mumtaz.
Yeah, they're all recorded.
And it's for both men and women, huh?
Yes, brothers and sisters are welcome. Obviously, we have, for the Arabic class, for example, the Arabic conversational course, we have the lecture, which is for brothers and sisters, but then we have workshops as well. So the workshops is taken care by a sister, small groups of 8 students, and then they have their whatever in their own workshops, and I deal with the brothers. Also have one of the professors at the university, Dr. Awad. He teaches at the Ma'had, Al-Lugha, KSU.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, a good friend of mine. So he teaches as well in the workshop, helps us teaching in the workshop as well. He's actually an expert in teaching Arabic. He's one of the, I think he's one of the part of the academic team of Arabic for All.
Yeah, I think I seen you did like a lecture with him, right? Recently or something like that.
Yeah, we're going to have actually, tonight we have the kick-off lecture.
MashaAllah.
Which,
and he'll be giving a lecture.
Which for you guys will be yesterday by the time you watch this.
Yeah.
So there's a kick-off lecture tonight. You'll take part as well for the Arabic conversational course cohort 3. So this is basically the 3rd time we're doing it. But this time round we're doing level 3 for more advanced students, which basically are the students that started with us from the beginning, and anyone else who's kind of like advanced, who wants to start at the higher level. We're starting all over again from level 1 for total beginners, inshallah.
So you're in level 3 with the advanced.
Yeah, so they've done level 1 and 2. Now we're going to start 3, inshallah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
And we're going to start over again level 1, because there's been high demand for people to. Some people been waiting for like 4 or 5 months for me to start.
Yeah. So the workshops is based upon work that you give them, and that's when the sisters break off and the brothers break off?
Yeah, so I explain everything. I explain the grammar concepts and these sort of things. And then in the workshop, they implement it. They have conversations. They do a lot of, implementing what you've learned, basically. Things you can't do in a lecture with multiple people. And
that Arabic lecture is how many times a week?
Twice a week, yeah.
Mumtaz.
Yeah.
And this is how much for the courses?
Yeah, so so all the other courses are free apart from this one, obviously because of the workshops.
Yeah.
And I've got other teachers helping me as well. So this one, it's about for the whole. I mean, there's 2 tiers. There's a self-paced tier and there's a premium cohort. So the premium cohort is where you get to partake in the workshops and likes.
Okay.
Self-paced, you watch the lectures, and there's a lot of electronic exercises that I've made for the course, whereby you study at your own pace. So the self-paced, I think, is about £100, £97 for the whole course, and the premium course is about £227. But having said
that's for 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's no. That's a 12-week course.
Oh, mashallah.
Yeah, it's a 12-week course. And having said that, we always reserve a few seats for scholarship students. So for those people that can't afford it, we give them a few seats. They apply for a scholarship, and we can't accept everyone, but we try and accept those that. I mean, we have to give back, obviously. We have scholarship students as well.
Yeah.
But so it has to be charged to cover the costs and stuff. But at the same time, those that can't afford it, they at least have a chance to apply for scholarship, alhamdulillah. It's been going good so far. I think the workshop it's definitely the most loved aspect of the whole course. Yeah, students, they really love the workshops.
May Allah ta'ala, reward you for your efforts and make it easy for you guys. And inshallah, send me the description so we could put it in the YouTube
inshallah
link.
I'll send the link. So again, I was meant to tell them last week our At-Tibyān audience. I forgot, so they're getting to know everything late again. Sorry about that. But inshallah, I'll send the link, inshallah, and like last time, I'll give them a special link so that I know.
Mumtaz. Tayyib. And with that being said, moving forward to the lectures or different lessons because I've been getting a lot of questions about different markaz and institutes here in Riyadh. So some people have been asking about, women's Arabic and Islamic studies, and it was something I kind of put out in my At-Tibyān group on Telegram, and it kind of explains two that I really know of. One is called Ihdina Academy for women, and this academy is twice a week in person, 8 to 11:30 a.m. From what I understand, they don't have evening classes, but they do have a nursery for the kids. Also, they have books that's given out. The cost is roughly like 300 riyals for their whole term, which is
less than $100.
Yeah, less than $100, and it's probably like 12 weeks, I want to say, or something like that. They do have transportation depending on where you live. They have a placement test and things like that. Then there's the second one that I think is a little bit more known to the community here, which is Dar Dhikr, because Ihdina is kind of like new, but it's closer to a lot of where people are living right now.
Where is it?
Ihdina is in Hayy Malik Fahd. So that's right off of Imam Saud.
Yeah.
Imam Saud and Ulayya.
Yeah, that's central.
That's more central, exactly. Yeah. So it's easier for people to get versus Dar Dhikr, which is in Sulaymaniyah, which is a bit more south, a little farther down.
Yeah.
So that's the second place that I was going to say is Dar Dhikr, and they have morning and evening classes for some sisters. They're working in the morning, so they can catch them in the evening, and vice versa. Prices are roughly the same. This one's, from what I understand, is 3 times a week: Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 8 to 11:30 a.m. And the evening classes, I'm not really sure about the exact times, but they also have, people can watch over the kids. They have kids classes. They have young adult classes and things like that. So
I think that's the most beautiful part, which is the fact that they cater for the kids.
Yeah.
With the nursery, so the mother doesn't need to worry about
their
kids, because getting childcare is the most difficult thing.
Yeah, 100%. And then there's, women who are younger, or I could say younger women, or maybe teenagers, sisters who are looking to apply to a more advanced study. Then you have Princess Noura, the university, and that's available for applying to and trying to get into. And they even have a nursery as well.
Yeah,
Princess Noura. You have to pay for it, I believe, but it's something,
No.
As far as the men's lessons and Marakas that are available, that's kind of like up in the air right now. I'm gonna be completely honest with the viewers, because once Corona kind of hit in, I think things changed big time. Like, we used to have lessons at our university in the evening. I think you guys used to have the same thing.
Yeah, for us, even better than that. You could actually go to the ma'had and register as something called mustami', just a listener, basically. You won't get actually, did they get a certificate? I'm not even sure. I don't know. But nevertheless, you are permitted to just sit down and actually be a student. You can partake in the class and everything.
But now are they still offering that though, or no?
That kind of stopped.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it kind of like all came to an end. Like, so we used to have the evening lessons. I don't know if we had the Mustami' program. I think that was specific to you guys.
Yeah,
because they were attending with the scholarship students, right?
So basically, the morning ma'had, you just come and you attend, and you. I know a brother, an American brother, who actually done from Mustawa al-Awwal all the way to Rabia.
Yeah. So
even the teachers, you develop a connection with them, and they treat you like any other student. The only thing is probably not something official. You might not get a certificate, I think. I'm not sure. But you get everything else, basically.
Was it free as well? Or?
Yeah, free. Just come, you sit,
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, it was a very good opportunity.
Hopefully that comes back, man. Because, brothers are looking for programs like this in Riyadh specifically. They used to have the Dawah centers as well, like the brother Ismail mentioned last week.
They still do, I think. I think Dr. Awad, he has Dr. Awad, the professor I talked about. He's a director of something called Al-Wafi program as well, which is a program for teaching Arabic to non-Arabic speakers. Can people go now and attend, or? I think the Da'wah centers, I think they're open, Yeah, these Da'wah centers, I think they're still teaching,
Okay, send me the information, inshallah. I'm putting in the description, because the brother also mentioned it, and the problem is I get a lot of questions about it, so I have to have the information to put it up. So,
all right, inshallah.
So send it to me, inshallah, so I can put it in the description as well, because that's Jameel. It's not full-time, right? It's like something part-time.
No, these are evenings, because, I think brothers can't make in the morning anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're normally teaching. This particular one was in the evening.
A few days a week, or like?
Yeah, it's normally like a couple of days a week,
Jameel. Free or pay?
So I'm not sure. But, with most of these things, if they cost money, basically just money to cover the costs. Just like you mentioned, Ihdina and that. 300 riyals for a term, that's like peanuts.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's
You
nothing.
know?
Allahu Akbar.
It's nothing.
Yeah, so Tayyib, inshallah, we'll try to get some more information for the brothers, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And I think they were mainly asking because they were asking about the program as well that we mentioned last week regarding coming here on like a tourist visa, you know, and doing
for
some
3 months.
intensive studies and things like that. If somebody wants to do that, I personally wouldn't recommend Riyadh for the place. I think Medina is more suitable, even though you can get some things in Riyadh, but Medina, you have Masjid Nabawi, where they have their own programs, which I don't know the details of exactly how it works. However, there is a lot of programs. They have the Mahad in Masjid Nabawi. They have the HIF programs in Masjid Nabawi for the
I'm not sure
Matun.
if you can sign up
They
for the
have-
Ma'had al-Haram, I think, for 3 months. Probably something more official. But you can definitely, like you said, there's a lot of Quran happening there.
Yeah, you can get the SAT programs for sure. You know,
Durus,
yeah,
definitely.
the Durus. You have, I mean, then they have the Marakas also for Arabic institutes for the women
Yeah.
as well that are available.
Yeah.
And they have the same thing that I mentioned here, which is they have the nurseries and things like that for them.
Yeah.
So if the viewers or listeners who are listening can get in contact with some brothers or sisters who are there, that would be more beneficial, I believe. And anything that I find, I'll just send it to the group. But
I think
Yeah.
things. I mean, if the things will get better
mm,
with the new student visa.
hmm
You'll find more and more programs popping up, inshallah. So it's just a matter of time, inshallah.
yeah, there was that one program we sent as well that was at Medina University.
Yeah, you
Remember?
mentioned that.
Yeah, that one. I think it started already. I think it was like December. Yeah, it should be starting tomorrow.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
winter.
Yeah,
program.
December 19th to like January 4th or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I think.
I think they're just testing the waters,
Yeah.
right? But as they do this and they get more feedback,
Mm-hmm.
it'll get better, inshallah.
Yeah.
It'll get better, inshallah.
Bi'idhnillahi
Especially if
ta'ala.
it's successful, I'm sure the university will put more things in place.
Yeah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.
Mm.
Tayyib, with that being said, moving on to another relative issue that's taking place, and that is obviously, as they say, this is the holiday season, huh?
Yeah.
This is what they call it. We're moving into Christmas, and you know, Christmas and its harms connected to it. Obviously, I mean, talking about all of these different, I guess you could say holidays or whatever the case may be. We've been talking about it for the last 3 months, right? Halloween.
Yeah,
And
whenever
then-
something
and then,
comes up.
Yeah, then Thanksgiving came up after that, and
Yeah.
now Christmas. And it's all kind of like rooted in the same exact mas'ala, which is celebrating other than the two Eids that we have.
No.
So, again,
I think they had recently, last week, they had اليوم العالمي للغة العربية.
Ajib,
They had an international day for the Arabic language.
Ajib.
So all these new days are popping up left, right, and center.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And they all hold the same exact, principle at hand.
Yeah.
The,
Even though some, I don't know, for some of them, it's kind of like a'yad, as in people they celebrate and stuff.
mhm.
And for some of them, it's kind of like they try to turn it into some sort of, let's just remember this thing and give it some focus, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So Allahu alam, yani, Allahu alam.
Yeah, so, I mean, Christmas, it kind of goes without saying, but let's still mention some of the things connected to it and its harms. The first one that I had written down and jotted down was just the fact that it is completely against the Islamic beliefs. And it negates, aspects of Tawheed, obviously, because what did the Christians say about Isa alayhi salam? They say he's the son of God, or some of them go to the extreme and say he is God. He's one of the three,
No.
the Trinity, right?
No.
So this clearly is against anybody's basic tawheed and fundamental principles of Islam. And a simple proof for that would be Surah Al-Ikhlas. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is no son to him. He is one. Allahu Samad. So that's clear, and even school children can refute that.
Yeah, I mean,
belief.
that's one aspect. And then also you have the other aspects related to Christmas, such as Santa Claus. Complete utter shirk.
Yeah.
This big fat guy with a white beard who basically comes and gives you a gift if you've been good throughout the year.
SubhanAllah.
And just think about it, They actually cultivate their kids upon being good all year, because Santa Claus is going to come and give you a gift,
Yeah.
And obviously...
And he's watching over you.
And he's watching
And
over
he
you.
watches what you do. He watches
This
your
is
good deeds
rububiyyah.
and watches your bad deeds.
Yeah, this is complete and utter shirk in rububiyyah, subhanallah.
And if you're good, he's going to grant you, that which you've been looking for and asking.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of connections. Exactly. Like you
Yeah,
said, to
so it's Allah understand. Some people might be like, what's the big deal? Obviously they're Christians and they're just celebrating this, and I don't believe in anything that they believe in. It's just that, wallahi, truth is that when somebody says something like this, it stems from a lack, I would say a lack of iman and a lack of love for the sake of Allah and hatred for the sake of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I just want to share these verses, and everybody should share these verses around Christmas. Allah ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, وقالوا اتخذ الرحمن ولدا. And they say, the most merciful has begotten a son. Okay? وقالوا اتخذ الرحمن ولدا لقد جئتم شيئا إدا. Allah says, indeed, you have uttered an evil, monstrous, something horrible.
Yeah.
Allah is saying about this statement. تكاد السماوات يتفطرن منه وتنشق الأرض وتخر الجبال هدا. To the extent, how evil is this statement? Allah says it's so evil that the heavens almost split asunder, and the earth almost splits, and the mountains are almost in ruin. أن دعوا للرحمن ولدا, because they have ascribed a son to the most merciful.
Allahu Akbar.
وما ينبغي للرحمن أن يتخذ ولدا. And it's not befitting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, to take a son. And then Allah mentions وما ينبغي للرحمن أن يتخذ ولدا. Allah also says لقد أحصاهم وعدهم عدا وكلهم آتيه يوم القيامة فردا. Allah says that He has indeed counted them. Allah knows them. Allah has counted them one by one, those people that say this. And all of them will come unto Allah all by themselves on the Day of Judgment. In other words, subhanallah, this statement of saying Allah has begotten a son, if we truly internalized and understood and had iman in how evil this statement is, wallahi, you would not, let alone take part in their celebrations, you wouldn't laugh in their face, you wouldn't partake in any of this, subhanallah. If a group of people who are insulting your parents are celebrating their insult of your parents or those that you love, would you take part?
Of course not.
Would you accept their gifts?
Of course not.
Would you say, marry whatever for insulting my parents? Subhanallah. But when it comes to them, ascribing this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and and Allāhu musta'an. It's sad. It's a sad state.
Allāhu musta'an. Also, from the aspects of it is, like you said in the clear ayat, that Isa alayhi salam is clearly not from the offspring of Allah ta'ala. But again, this goes in contradiction to the belief of, the Muslims, which we believe him to be a prophet. We uphold him to be a prophet, not a son nor a God. So if like you say, if somebody can understand that, how can we then partake in what they say is the birth of Isa alayhi salam?
No.
Which they themselves know that's not the time of
it's not.
the birth of
It's
Isa
not.
alayhi salam. But rather it's really more so rooted in the paganism beliefs, and they say it's what is it, Saturnality or Saturnality or something like that, which is pretty much where they used to celebrate the festival of the god of Saturn.
Yeah.
And they actually moved it from they actually came up with this time during the time of winter, because during that time the pagans used to celebrate their worship.
Yeah,
during
they say
time.
25th of December says the shortest day of the year.
Oh wow, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's why they picked out that day.
Yeah.
To do those celebrations.
Ajib.
So it was a pagan thing, and then like we've seen in that clip, and this is one of the big Christian whatever their what's it called? Is he pastor? Or is he? I don't know.
Minister. Yeah. You talking about the one guy who even came out? Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a minister.
yeah, and he actually acknowledges and says this is pagan. It's roots in paganism. I think he said something around the lines of the Roman Catholics, when they came and they came to these pagans, they just Christianized.
Exactly. That's exactly what they did. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So what they did is they had there was the paganism rooted festival during that time of the year. What the Christians did is they came up with a way to okay, maybe we can give some type of da'wah to them in this way by making this festival during this time in this date.
Yeah, they didn't want to get rid of it.
Exactly.
They're like, okay, if we get rid of this,
they wanted to make it and mix it.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? Like a Christianity Temye or something, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to do that, and that's what allowed them to come up with this this false festival. So even amongst the Christians, It's
they
a
know
bid'ah, yani.
Isa, they say Isa was born that day. They know he wasn't born that day.
Exactly.
And that reminds me, unfortunately, Prophet ﷺ said, لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ سَنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ,
Sahih.
that you will follow the ways of those who came before you, the Jews and the Christians, to the extent that if they enter a lizard hole, you'll enter a lizard hole. That reminds me of the Mawlid al-Nabawi, al-Mawlid al-Nabi, or whatever they call it, the Prophet's birthday.
No.
They know that the Prophet ﷺ, there's nothing authentically to establish that he was born on that day. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But if anything, what is a fact regarding that day is that he died on that day. That's known. But that he was born on that day, there's no authentic narrations or nothing to. But they still celebrate it, you know, because it's that's and that itself has, well, you can call it pagan roots, because the Al-Fatimiyya, who are actually who are Rawafid, okay, not Muslims. They're the ones that started with this whole Mawlid al-Nabawi, and then everyone else took it from them. So even that can, if you can, like you can say, it's got pagan roots because their grave worship is obviously Allah Musta'an.
Yeah. So then, subhanallah. Moving on to another topic aspect of that, of why it's haram, even though we've listed so many reasons already, but I mean the final one, like you said, imitating the kuffar.
No.
So this is clear. In the Prophet said, whoever follows the people, then he's from them.
No.
So if we're going to go and follow them in imitating the way that they celebrate, or you know, putting lights up around their houses, and you know, drinking hot cocoa, as they say, and these different things, khalas, you be wary of this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Whoever follows the people, then he is from them.
You know, akhi, the way they have Christmas tree, 25th of December. There's some Muslims, they have this tree that looks like a moon crescent in Ramadan.
Ajib.
You didn't see it?
No,
they decorate it.
I didn't see this.
Akhi, wallahi, every time I come across this hadith, that you will follow the path, and I see what Muslims do in this day and age, all I can say is Sadaqa Rasuluhu al-Karim.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. Sadaqa Allahu al-Azim wa Sadaqa Rasuluhu al-Karim. Unbelievable. They literally have a tree. It's not even a tree, obviously. It's just something that looks green, looks like a moon crescent, and they decorate it. They do that in Ramadan or for Eid.
Wow. No, I haven't seen this.
You haven't seen that?
Alhamdulillah, I haven't seen it.
I think you have to come to the UK for that. UK Muslims are next level.
Yeah, and that's what made me even want to talk about this a little bit more in detail, because the reason that, you know, I seen, it was a Huffington Post in the UK. I think I sent it to you, right?
Yeah.
They were actually writing an article encouraging the Muslims to participate in Christmas.
Yeah.
They were like, you know, why sit on the side? This is, you know, we love Jesus as well. And, you know, I think it might have even been a Muslim writer. And they started naming famous people who were celebrating Christmas. And it's like, to this extent. Yani, me personally, I've never seen that in America, where there's an article written by a Muslim in a mainstream media platform, newspaper, encouraging haram.
Yeah.
Encouraging the participation in something which is based upon shirk and paganism. I was like, wow, this is like next level.
It's crazy.
So when you're saying that about the crescent moon, I can only imagine, because it's like, to that level, there people are writing about it.
Reminds me of what Ismail said last week. Surrogates.
Yeah.
They have to bring someone from your kind.
Exactly. Looks like you, speaks like you.
Yeah.
Subhanallah, in order for you to believe it and follow it. So Shaykh al-Islam, he was speaking about, you know, imitating the kuffar, and I'm mentioning this because obviously during this time there is a lot of Muslims who may want to go and hang up lights in their house, and, you know, if you're living in the West, participate in, you know, sharing food with, you know, maybe non-Muslim family and background, because from a non-Muslim family, these type of years, this is like the greatest times of years almost.
Yeah.
Everybody's off of work. You're get to see your family who you usually don't see throughout the entire year. Everybody's coming together, hanging out, etc. But at the same time, it's important that we understand that this is something which we cannot participate in, even if it's our family members, even if it's that background that we came from. It's not simply just some custom, you know.
Yeah, that's it. It's not just a
some
custom,
people might try to explain it like it's some type of custom, but no, this isn't the case.
It's a religious
festival.
It's
a religious celebration. So Shaykh al-Islam, he mentioned about how it's not permissible for Muslims to imitate them in any way, shape, or form. Nothing unique to their festivals, whether it be their food, their clothing, their bathing, their lighting fires, or refraining from usual work and or some type of worship, etc. So you don't go and take off on this day. You
Yeah.
don't go in
Unless
you know,
unless obviously you're off, there's
Yeah,
no work.
yeah,
That's
of course,
different story.
of course.
But imagine you have a Muslim store and you're
You
the store
closing it.
manager, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna teach today."
Yeah.
Or let's say,
I'm
"Oh,
not- yeah.
today's 25th of December. No dars today, Khan."
Yeah, exactly. For me, when I was used to be in the West, I mean, it was like, to me, it was easy overtime because everybody else getting
it's a
calling
chance,
off,
yeah.
and I'm like, I'm
More
not
money.
calling off. I'm going to work.
Yeah.
And I used to work in a hospital, so it was like that's the best time to just easy money, really
Yeah.
easy money. Everybody's with family, everybody's doing things. You're
You
just
got
there.
extra. You got extra.
Yeah, I'm there going overtime.
Yeah.
You guys have the concept of overtime,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
work over like 40 hours a week, get
Yeah.
extra money.
Yeah.
So yeah, he goes on to talk about also it's not permissible to give a feast or exchange gifts or to sell things specifically to those who are celebrating these festivals, nor let our children play or any type of games connected to their festivals or adorn oneself with any type of decorations, etc. Generally speaking, you stay away from it in totality. Okay,
Yeah.
in totality. There's no mixing, there's no exchanging gifts, there's no accepting gifts, there's no getting our kids to play in these festivals, etc. So also,
Obviously, stay. I mean, one of the biggest dangers is that even if you stay home, there are certain things you can't avoid when it comes to Christmas. That are just all around you. But beware of TV. Beware of your children watching TV around these sort of seasons, because everything, yes, that they basically do, they'll give you a sort of like a Christmas, if you like. There's a Christmas
theme,
version of
theme,
it.
yeah,
Christmas
yeah,
theme of it.
yeah.
So, I mean, you should obviously be looking after your kids and what they watch on TV or YouTube throughout the year.
Even in school
But
as
more
well.
specifically,
Yeah.
more specifically around these sort of times.
Yeah, yeah.
Before
yeah.
you know it, you got your child, singing a Christmas song. You're like, hey, where'd you get that from?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're not
yeah.
paying attention,
Yeah,
you're asleep.
Yeah, even with regards to school as well. I mean, obviously the ones who are going to school, but even online school, these are a time where teachers like to do like little workshops and explain, Christmas things and Christmas drawings and Christmas stories, even
Yeah.
share Christmas experiences and writings. So all these things gotta be, you gotta really look after your children and be careful with it. And just this last quote I want to mention from Ibn Taymiyyah, where he said, imitating them on some of their festivals implies that one is happy with the falsehood they are following, and that could make the non-Muslims take the opportunity to mislead those who are weak in faith. What does that sound like? The surrogate thing you just mentioned.
Yeah, surrogates.
Subhanallah.
Last
So,
time.
with that being said, did you have anything else connected to that topic before you move on?
No, that's it.
So kind of like shifting into that same type of, I guess you could say theme, which is the winter vibes, right? This is a perfect time for the Muslims to look at their time management and take advantage of the winter time. Why? Because this is a time where the days are getting shorter. And the Salaf used to have a methodology with dealing with these type of times and this type of time of the year. So during this time where they're worried about their festivals and things like that, we should be, as Muslims, worry about taking more advantage of the nighttime, because the night's getting longer. I mean, right now in Saudi Arabia, you can have after Isha an easy 10 to 11 hours of straight nighttime for salat, for reading the Quran, and then the short days leads us to what? Fasting. Fasting. So Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He instructs us in the Quran to, take this time as an ayah, take it as a sign, something to look at Allah Ta'ala and ponder over it. So Allah Ta'ala says, يُقَلِّبُ اللَّهُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارِ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِأُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. So Allah Ta'ala alternates the night and the day. Indeed, that is a lesson for those who have insight. So these changing of the seasons, these different things that are taking place without regards to having much more time on our hands, then it should be something the Muslims should look at and try to take advantage of. The Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, اشتكت النار إلى ربها وقالت أكل بعضي بعضا فجعل لها نفسين نفسا في الشتاء ونفسا في الصيف. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that the fire complained to its Lord, saying, "O Lord, some parts of mine have consumed the others." So it was allowed to take two, the fire was allowed to take two breaths, one in the wintertime and then one in the summer. So the one in the wintertime, during this time that we're in right now, is an indication to the extreme cold. Again, being a sign for the Muslims. Being a
Izz
sign.
Harir.
Hey, naam. So we should be looking forward to seeing this as a sign of Allah Ta'ala, turning us back to the worship of Allah Ta'ala. And I had a book here that I want to show people, and I think it's been translated as well. And it's called لطائف المعارف في مواسم العام من الوظائف. And it's from Ibn Rajab, who died in the year 795 Hijri. And in this book right here, well, let me translate that. It's called the Islamic months. And it's a detailed explanation of taking advantage of these months, these different seasons.
Yeah.
So it goes through all the Hijri months and the different things connected to it from the ahadith or the ayat. They explain virtues in that month and taking advantage of it and how the Salaf used to deal with it. But it also talks about, in the end of the book, the seasons as well.
Yeah.
So winter season, summer season, spring, fall, how the Salaf used to look at it and deal with these different types of the year.
Yeah.
So this book right here, I believe it's been translated, but also, and also Sheikh bin Baz has his ta'liqat on this same exact book, which I would recommend everyone get. I think his book is a abridged version of this book, which takes out like a lot of the, maybe weak hadith or, extra things that are repeated.
Yeah.
You have anything on that before we go?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a very important topic. Jazakallah khair for bringing it up. It's really something that is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So the nights being long. I mean, I just want everyone to remember, just go back, scroll back, rewind 5-6 months ago, when in your locality, specifically you live in the West, when there was like 3 or 4 hours between Isha and Fajr. And it was a major struggle for you to pray Isha and then wake up for Fajr.
Mm-hmm.
And Qiyamul Layl, or praying in the night, was probably out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, practically impossible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just go back to that state, yes, and how you wished that it's winter and the nights are longer. Now, hey, your wishes has come true.
Sahih.
Now you're here in the winter. Now the nights are long.
Sahih.
So if in the summer you were like, I wish the night was longer so I can pray, then know that the nights, they're longer now.
Sahih.
If in the summer you had an intention to fast, or you even tried to fast, or you actually fasted and you found it difficult, and you said to yourself, I wish the days were shorter, your wishes come true. The days are shorter. And this is always the case, subhanAllah. It's always the case that when we're in the winter, we're like, I wish it's the summer.
Yeah.
When it's the summer, we're like, I wish it was the winter.
Sahih.
But nevertheless, if far away from the, do you prefer cold over heat or heat over cold? Let's put that aside. From a religious perspective, like you've mentioned, there's no doubt that the winter is more conducive for ibadah
Sahih.
than the summer.
Of course.
For this reason. The fact that the nights are longer and the days are shorter.
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ, he says in a hadith that was authenticated by Sheikh Al-Bani, Al-Ghanimatu al-Baridatu as-Sawmu fi shita. And a fasting in the winter is an easily acquired booty, so to say, like a reward. Hassan al-Basri, who was from the...
It's basically, if you like, to put it in this... It's what booty and reward. People don't go war, enough board. You have to put it in a way that they understand.
Yeah.
Basically a bargain. All right?
I didn't understand.
Fasting.
I'm sorry.
What I mean is the Prophet mentioned Ghanimatul Barida, which is war booties. Huh?
Yeah.
I say people in this day and age, they might not relate to that war booty and whatever. And,
Yeah.
But you'll relate to this. Bargain. When you find a bargain, you go to the shop, there's 50-60% discount.
A good deal.
A good deal. Yeah. Fasting in the winter is a bargain.
So.
You'll be fasting from Fajr until Isha. I think in Saudi, it doesn't really alternate that much. But in the UK, Fajr is about 6 or 7 o'clock. And Maghrib's around 4. Or even before 4. I mean, how many hours is that? We're talking 9 hours. You just missed breakfast. That's it. Lunchtime is time for you to have iftar. So yeah, it's a deal. It's a bargain. Absolutely.
No. Yeah, so gotta take advantage. Hassan al-Basri, who was from the ulama At-Tibyān, he mentioned that winter is for the believers the most beloved season. Its nights are long for those who wish to pray, and the days are short for those who wish to fast. In haqiqatan, it's very short. Look at what's happening right now. You wake up, and then it's like, if you don't plan properly, or if you sleep a little longer, or if you one of the people take a nap throughout the day, your day is gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally gone, like over. So you gotta take advantage of this time. Also, which leads me to the next point is looking after the salawat. The obligatory prayers.
Oh yeah, that's
because,
a challenge. Yeah,
especially for our sisters, in the house, because they can get busy with the children and busy with the daily activities, and then you say, because obviously they're not praying in jama'ah like the men.
Yeah.
So you could literally go from one prayer to another and be like, what happened? Where'd that time go? So we gotta make sure we're taking care of our salawat. Fajr, it gets a little bit, I would say, a little bit more challenging in the morning for everyone because it's chilly, it's cold. You want to stand under the covers.
Yeah.
Got to get up. Then you got Dhuhr and Asr, which the time is very small between the two. Actually, all throughout the day, the salawat are short.
Bring us to that. It is a bit more challenging for those brothers and sisters that actually work in the West.
Yes, 100%.
Because before you'll be praying Dhuhr only at work. Now you're praying maybe even Fajr, Dhuhr,
So,
maybe Fajr on the road.
Fajr on the road. Yeah, this what happened with me when I was back in the West. I was praying Fajr on my way, and then praying probably Dhuhr and Asr at my job.
And Maghrib probably as well.
On the way back.
Yeah.
So the whole entire day.
Yeah.
You're praying somewhere in them 8 hours of your work.
Yeah, I remember when I used to be, when I used to go college, on my way back, before I get home, because you take a bus from the college to city center, then from there you take another bus home. So by the time I get to town, that's when Maghrib used to kick in. You get off the bus, go to the closest H&M or Primark, go to the changing rooms, take a shirt with you. Just pray there and then come out.
Ajee.
Yeah. I mean, you could pray outside, but
I never thought about that. So people were like, if people are on their way somewhere, they pray, like, is that normal to do? Like praying like in like a like you said, a changing area like that?
I mean, some people, or maybe if you're with a group of people, then okay, you can pray outside. But when you're by yourself, I was still young as well at that time. And Islamophobia was a real thing. Probably still is a real thing.
Okay.
So you're just praying somewhere in a corner. You don't know what might happen.
Yeah.
Right. So I just, I don't have to pray outside as long as I pray. So I just go to one of these clothes shops, go into the prayer room, the changing rooms.
Yeah.
Just pray my salat there.
Subhanallah.
No distractions, nothing.
Subhanallah.
Allah Akbar, and just come on and just continue to take my bus home.
Subhanallah.
So the point is that it's a bit challenging. It is challenging too, because again, there is no time.
Yeah.
It's not like you can be like, oh, wait till I get home. La mafi. By the time you get home, salah is gone.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to talk about and address with the viewers and listeners, that it's not permissible to skip all these salawat and then combine them.
Yeah.
And you have to pray in its prescribed times, as Allah Ta'ala addressed us. So when you're doing this, you have to take this in mind. I mean, there are salawats that you can delay, generally speaking, right? Especially in the West, there's no salatul jama'ah for most cases of individuals. They're usually far from a masjid. They don't hear the nidah. They don't hear the call to prayer, etc. However, you can delay it past a certain time.
Yes.
Obviously, Fajr can be delayed past Shuruq. Then you have
Shuruq, which is sunrise.
Sunrise, I'm sorry. Then you have Dhuhr. They can go up until close to Asr, before Asr. But then Asr, people don't understand that Asr, it actually doesn't go all the way up until Maghrib. So you have to take that in consideration during the time or the place in where you live. Then you got Maghrib that comes in up until Isha. But at the end of the day, you can't combine these salawats. You can't say...
No, Maghrib is the shortest, I think.
Maghrib is probably shortest, less than an hour.
Maghrib, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
Maybe even less than that, because we're looking at you have the red twilight. If that disappears, then Maghrib is gone. So, So Maghrib is really short. That's why the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Jibreel came to him and led him in prayer at a specific time. Then Jibreel came back the following day and he led him Salatul Fajr a time later than he led him yesterday. Dhuhr a time later. Asr a time later. Maghrib at the same time. And then Isha later as well. And then Jibreel said to him that the salah is in between these two times. Okay? So the point is that he actually led him Maghrib at the same time. Which shows you that Maghrib's time is really, really little. Really short. And also there's the opinion as well that the salawat don't really go up until the next salah. Because Jibreel led the Prophet ﷺ in two separate times. But nevertheless, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. You have to fear 100%. Allah to the best of your ability. And yes, sometimes combining two prayers for necessity, it's permissible. All right, depending on your situation, like if you're traveling or
of course, there's exceptions to the rule.
There are exceptions to the rule.
Or
if somebody is sick or the like. So, But you have to know which salawat can be combined.
Exactly.
You can't combine Asr and Maghrib.
Sahih. Sahih.
You can combine Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha.
No. And again, if that situation allows it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we don't want it to turn into a fiqh class, but nevertheless, you have to return back to durus, you have to return back to seeking knowledge, you have to return back to, it's in order to be on yaqeen. And that's the most important thing. Akhi, one of the most important benefits of knowledge, apart from the fact that, of course, you're less likely, to worship Allah upon ignorance. So that's one benefit in the hereafter. But a tangible benefit you will get in this world is that it will give you a peace of mind. A lot of people, subhanallah, they go through stress, anxiety, and they because of confusion. Because they're like, maybe I did something wrong, maybe, and they go overboard. And wallahi, knowledge, it gives you a comfortable life. If you're someone that really cares about fulfilling your obligations, you're really worried about falling short and these sort of things, then my advice to you, seek knowledge. Wallahi, knowledge will give you a peace of mind
100%.
Like no other.
100%.
Sometimes students, they ask me questions, right, that has been bothering them for a long time, and they give them an answer which it's fairly simple, but it wasn't to them. And they're like, subhanallah, Ustad, knowledge is such a blessing, and I wish I had knowledge. So yeah, that's the case. So seek knowledge, my dear brothers and sisters. Wallahi, its benefits. In this world, you live a life of sa'ada, of happiness, tranquility, no stress, a life of confidence. The more you know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His mercy, the more you have hope in His reward. And it's, nah.
Yeah, another thing connected to that, Jazakallah Khair, is just a tanbih, because, during this time, I remember, like in the West, especially people who are going to school right now, you want to set your alarm later or as close to a certain time. Some people maybe even delay it purposely past that time if they have work or if they have school, to not pray Fajr on time.
So basically, Fajr is at, let's say, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And
but they're going to work at 7.
No, they're going to work at, let's say they go to work at 8.
They need to wake up half an hour before
exactly. So what do? They put their alarm on for that particular time, 7:30, to get up to go to work. However, not taking in mind, the Fajr went out at 6:50. You get what I'm saying? So they're prolonging it past that particular time. In this particular situation, you're deliberately not praying on time. And this is a major sin. A major sin. And some scholars have even differed whether this is a form of kufr or not.
Ibn Baz holds that.
Sheikh Ibn Baz holds this form of kufr. And let's make a tanbih with that as well.
Yeah.
When we say that he holds the position that's a form of kufr, doesn't mean that now is for everyone to go and make takfir on somebody who doesn't pray on time, right? Or who might be deliberately delaying a prayer. Yeah. Rather, that's left to the hakim. That's left to a qadi, not us as individuals.
But then that's going back to when we talked earlier about asma and ahkam, in a sense that, okay, I mean, Sheikh Ibn Baz, he holds that. No. When we say a form of kufr, he actually holds that it takes you out of the fold of Islam.
Yeah.
Now, so the ruling given by the ruler or by the judge, yes, that's how we treat the person. Like we said before, there's the zahir and there's the batin, right? Yeah. So just to show you the dangers of this, this to show you the dangers of it. Exactly. There are actually scholars out there, from the major scholars, who hold that leaving in prayer, and the Shaykh, he holds it to be a form of kufr, because of the fact that Shaykh Ibn Baz, he holds that the position that leaving the salah takes you out of fold of Islam.
No. Exactly.
Like Prophet said, whoever leaves the salah, then he has disbelieved. Shaykh Ibn Baz holds this to be major belief.
The covenant that stands between us and them is the prayer.
Yeah, the hypocrites.
No.
Yeah, so the covenant between us and the hypocrites, Prophet mentions is salah.
No.
So these hypocrites, even the hypocrites, as long as they pray, okay, fine. But if they stop praying, Prophet said, whoever leaves, then he has disbelieved. So this is a very serious matter. Why does he hold it to be a form of kufr? Because this, in essence, is leaving the salah on purpose.
Exactly.
So we have to differentiate between two people. Someone who put the alarm on at 6 o'clock, and let's say they both woke up 7:30.
Yeah.
So you have Abdullah and you have Khalid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Both of them woke up 7:30. They prayed Fajr. One of them, ma alayhi shay. There's nothing upon him. And the other one, like we said, could be an act of kufr, even though they're both praying Fajr. How is that possible? Yeah, because this guy, he intended to wake up. He took the means to wake up, but he didn't wake up.
Sahih.
Alarm didn't go off. He was in a deep sleep, whatever it may be. This other person, he didn't even intend to pray the salah on time.
SubhanAllah.
He didn't take the means to pray salah on time.
Mhm.
So now that salah that he's praying at 7:30, it's not considered salah.
Yeah.
إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed specific times for the salah.
So,
This is not for you. You can't prescribe your own times for salah. You can't be like, okay, I'll pray Fajr at 7:30. La ya akhi. Allah said pray at 6 o'clock.
Allahu Akbar.
Either you pray at 6 o'clock or you're someone that hasn't prayed. Even if you pray at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If that was on purpose, then you're like someone who hasn't prayed. Like Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah, he holds that if you miss the salah, this is important. If you miss the salah out of laziness, you're like, inshallah, later, until the salah time has went. It's not even for you to make up for it. Khalas, that is gone. That salah is gone. Make tawbah, return back to Allah. Even if you pray, will not be accepted.
Yeah.
But the other one who actually fell asleep, who didn't wake up, he put the alarm on, then he comes under the hadith. Prophet ﷺ mentioned that whoever sleeps or forgets about the salah, and then he remembers or he wakes up, فَلْيُصَلِّهَا
Exactly.
إِذَا ذَكَرَهَا. Let him pray when he remembers.
No.
There's no expiation other than that.
Exactly.
There's nothing else upon him.
Yeah.
Other than, let's put it this way. You forgot to pray salah for 10 hours. You missed 3-4 salah. You completely forgot. Your only expiation is that you prayed those salahs that you forgot. You slept and you woke up like 3 salahs after. You missed Dhuhr, Asr and Maghrib. For whatever reason it may be. Jet lag.
Yeah.
Wake up, pray those 3 salahs. There's nothing upon you other than that.
No. So to sum that up, I mean, it separates between two people. People who are intentionally leaving off the salah to another time versus those people who may have forgot or was unable to do so. Sleeping, the alarm didn't get them up, etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we sum that all up.
Yeah.
Al-Muhim, make sure we're taking care of our obligatory prayers during this time where it can be easily become lackadaisical with it and negligent. Tayyib, so moving on to the next topic, and that is just a Q&A before we get into the last segment. Today we're taking it kind of easy, just no guests today, so we're kind of like getting back in the flow of going with just me and you for a week, inshallah.
Yeah.
So from the questions that came in, it was connected to what we talked about last week, and that was the Arabic program. So somebody asked, can I get more details about the 3-month Arabic program in Medina? Barakallahu fiqh. This particular question, I sent the link. It's in the At-Tibyān channel, and it has all the information that we already covered already, which is that it's 3 months for men and women. It's the price. I think they gave the visa particularly for it, if I recall properly.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I'll put it in the description. Follow up to that, they said, I have a question regarding the tourist visa to Saudi. If you get 3 months visa to Saudi, are you going to pay for your hotels?
Of course you are.
Yeah, you have to pay for that. Saudi's not going to cover your hotels or cover food expenses or cover taxis or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's all upon you.
Yeah.
That's all upon you. And I think that works the same way around the world, right?
Everywhere.
I don't think this.
I know.
I don't think that's something that's specific to Saudi, but that's everywhere. If you pay for a visa to go somewhere, then you're responsible for everything that follows after that.
Accommodation, food now.
No.
Unless you come to our house, inshallah. Ahlan. Sahlan feek.
Barakallahu feek. Did you have any questions that were sent to you for this week?
I think you mentioned before about when we mentioned last week about trying to teach Islamic ulum, Islamic sciences in Arabic as much as possible. Unless, for example, the person, he needs to learn that which he has to know in order to worship his Lord or his Aqidah. I think you mentioned someone might have misunderstood it as if we're saying it's an obligation. No, it's not an obligation.
Yeah.
We're not saying it's wajib on you to teach al-ulum al-islamiyya in Arabic. La. What we are talking about is that we need to combat the strategy of the enemies of Islam. Their strategy, like we mentioned with linguistic imperialism, is to keep Muslims away from the Arabic language
and inclined to English or whatever
other language. As long as they stay away from the Arabic language, and most Muslims can't access Islamic knowledge for themselves. This is actually one of their strategies. So what we said is, we as du'at or as tullab ilm who go back to our countries and our communities to teach them, we shouldn't perpetuate and make that situation worse. Instead, what we should do is we should teach people in English the most important things that they need, which is wajib upon them, because we're not going to say to them, hey, don't learn aqidah, don't learn fiqh until you learn Arabic. La. They need to learn how to pray today. They need to learn about their Lord today.
Of course.
But once you get beyond that, and now you go into more specialized subjects, such as ulum al-hadith, such as inheritance law, such as, things that are more detailed, don't go and teach those things in English. Why would you teach those things in English? If this person wants to become a student of knowledge, then he won't be a student of knowledge without Arabic.
I think the brother was also saying about that. He was trying to say, like, even if, he has reached this level where he can go into some of the more higher studies like Mustalah Hadith and things like that, even with that, could he learn it maybe the first time reading it in English and things like that? I think they understood it like it's completely a no, like it's completely like
it's not
impermissible or something along these lines.
Of course not.
So that's what I think he wanted to get cleared up.
No, you can. You can. If there's a book on ulum al-hadith in English, you want to read it, go ahead.
Yeah.
Be my guest, no problem. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying to you is that
don't rely on that language.
Don't rely on that, number one. And secondly, it really goes back. I think it really goes back to the objective.
Yes.
Right? Some of these more advanced sciences, sometimes we teach them to the masses, not because we want them to become an expert in the ulum al-hadith. We teach them so that they can appreciate how the hadith of the messenger were preserved. So there's an added benefit to it, from that angle. So if it's out of curiosity, interest, read it, no problem. It's better than reading other things, or like Shakespeare, like some people say they like. So read that by all means, read and benefit from it, inshallah ta'ala. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you want to become a serious student of knowledge, and you want to benefit, then after having learned what you have to learn in your religion, the next step has to be learning Quran, memorizing Quran, and learning Arabic, because these are the two tools that you're going to need to unlock Islamic sciences. 100%. That's why the scholars, when they have, if you look at the books of the different, if you like, manahij, or different paths for seekers of knowledge, you'll find that the scholars, they have two different paths. Like if someone comes to a scholar and says, I want to seek knowledge, where shall I start? The scholar's going to ask something. He's going to ask him a question to start off with, because there's two different versions. There's a version for the ammi, the person who just wants to seek knowledge in order to fulfill his wajibat and his obligations, to get closer to his Lord and worship Allah upon basira and insight. He has an answer. And you have another person who actually wants to become a student of knowledge. He has an answer. So if someone comes to you, he's like, I want to seek knowledge just to, worship Allah and the likes, you're going to say to him, learn aqidah, learn fiqh and the likes. But if someone comes to you and says to you, I want to seek knowledge because I want to become a student of knowledge and I want to reach a level whereby I can teach others, then your advice is going to differ. To him, you're going to say to him, okay, do you know your wajibat? Do you know your fiqh, aqidah? Okay, now stop everything else. Now do two things. Learn Arabic and its different ulum that are related to it, such as nahu and sarf and the likes and balagha, and memorize the Quran. These are the ulum al-ala. That's what they call in Arabic. They call it ulum al-ala. They call it the sciences tools for tools. They are the tools for knowledge. Right? When you have this toolbox of Arabic and the Quran, and you've memorized it, you memorized the hadith, now you can make the most. And I mentioned this before, I think, when you've memorized the Quran and you sit in a dars, taking notes becomes so much easier. As the Shaykh, he mentions 100%. The ayah, you just write the first three words, you know where to return back to.
It makes everything easier. If you have this ulum al-ala, you have, I mean, you see, like, you could even see it amongst the students when we're in the Jamia, like, those people who came from these backgrounds where they have Quran or they have even a decent amount of Arabic with them, they go on to really fully benefit from the university.
Definitely.
And this is also something, could be advice for those people who are seeking to be students of knowledge. Don't let the fact that you're not a student in the Jamia hold you back from getting what you need to do right now, which is memorizing Quran, being very strong with the Quran. Also, Arabic. These things only beautify the studies at the Jamia.
They make it easy.
It make it so much more easier. I mean, studying and reviewing becomes much more simple and much more, practical for an individual versus when you're trying to memorize that ayah along with studying for that exam. Memorize that hadith along with trying to understand the meaning behind it. You know, it's like you're jumping through different hula hoops at the same time.
Yeah, subhanallah.
Like even Arabic. Like me personally, I wasn't a person who studied a lot of Arabic before I came. So sometimes in the exam, early on in the studies, you feel like you're jumping through two hula hoops. The hula hoop of understanding what the question is asking in the Arabic language, but then also the actual answer to that question.
And actually writing it down as well.
And actually writing it in a language that's understood to the teacher. So you're like jumping through different avenues when if you come and you're strong in these things, it helps. Not saying that you still don't jump through hula hoops, because it's still going to be not your mother tongue. It's still going to be things you need to think about, obviously, but
helps a lot.
It helps a lot.
You're prepared.
It becomes much more simpler and easier to digest that knowledge being given.
You're like someone, imagine they say, Ta'al, come, we're going to go to this place. We're going to go gold digging.
Yeah.
You're going to come here, Saudi, to gold dig. You're going to come here to take gems and gold with you back to your country. Now imagine one guy turns up with a shovel, another one turns up with a spoon.
Or the other one turns up with nothing.
With his hand.
His hand. He's digging with nothing. He has nothing to get to that goal.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely something that's going to help you tremendously. Like, don't overlook that. Like, if you have Quran and you have some Arabic, this is going to help you in your studies, like, by far.
Yeah. The whole reason we mentioned that last time is because it's a bit frustrating and worrisome when you see in the West sometimes some du'at or people perpetuating the problem to the extent that you end up with students, if you like, who dress like students of knowledge. They've got their pen, they've got their notebook, they go to the durus and everything, but everything's in English. They read the books in English, they take notes in English, and they have no plans to learn Arabic. Such that now you have in this community like this so-called group of students of knowledge, everyone looks up to them, but there are people that they don't take from the scholars, they take from this da'i who then says, I bring to you what the scholars they say. Now imagine now going through that. Just imagine future generations, akhi. If that continues, just imagine. Imagine you have someone who came, he took from the scholars, and then he's disseminating that in English to this next generation. That next generation now is disseminating to the third generation in English. How far are they now from the source? Really far from the source. And how much can be lost in translation? How much? And this is really, and Allah knows best, Allāhu alam. This could be one of the reasons why we see so many misunderstandings and wrong perspectives widespread in the West. Things that, subhanAllah, a lot of the things where you come here to Saudi, you're like a completely new world opens. Be like, oh, wait a minute. I never knew that existed. Oh, subhanAllah. Hey, look at the scholars. There's something new to me. So many things that when you come here to Saudi, did you have that experience?
Yeah, 100%.
Like between night and day, how people, the perspective they had back in your community and how things are here with the scholars?
For me, it wasn't until probably the beginning of my studies in the kulliyah.
Yeah.
It's when it really started dawning on me. When I started studying a lot more with the scholars, I was able to understand a lot more. I was going through different masail in the kulliyah itself. So that's when I realized, and you go back throughout the summer and you're realizing, there is a disconnect that's taking place.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bit of a disconnect, and obviously the areas are different, but there's also, like you said, it's night and day. Like, there's an Arab world and there is an English world. And it's very, very clear. Very clear. Like, anybody who lives here, I'm sure even probably the workers at this point probably have understood it as well. I mean, you could just see it. Some people might not be able to articulate what is actually taking place. Yeah. But if you're somebody who's coming back after studying and you go back to the West, I mean, the disconnect is
I think we can bring one day, one of the future episodes, will actually bring a list of examples. So I think there's many things to mention. List of examples to just show the people that, hey, you actually got the wrong end of the stick. This is not how things are. Even though this is the only thing you probably saw in your community and this was being narrated to you, or this is not actually how it is. There are so many examples, again, beyond something we can mention here. But again, my point is that I think this is the reason. The reason is because of the fact that people taking the knowledge in Arabic, disseminating it in English, and then the second generation doing the same thing. Before you know it, they're so far from the source that it's ajib.
there's a lot that can be unraveled in that.
Yeah,
It really is.
Let's bring a list of examples.
yeah.
Not we can't give an example. You can't give a exhaustive list, but just some examples we can share with the audience, maybe in future episodes. Yes, to just show them that look, this is the wrong perspective. This is actually how it is, and then maybe people can make the connections, and hopefully everybody will come to the realization that the root cause is relying on translators and people not taking knowledge from its source.
But also relying on personal experience as well. I mean, like, some people, they are living in the West and they'll be like, so-and-so told me, right? But so-and-so told you from his personal experience of what he's seen, not based upon what's correct and what's not correct, or based upon the entire story at hand. You got somebody's experience, and now you're basing that experience, because you'll say this person's thick or whatever the case may be, on the entire situation and to paint an entire picture. So it's kind of like bias. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. It's kind of like just one aspect of it versus the entire picture at hand. Yeah. And that's what I've noticed a lot. I mean, more so it's based upon the experience. Well, so-and-so, I've seen him. He went there, and so-and-so did this, and so-and-so. And it's just like, sorry, that doesn't quite equivalent to anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Like we said, sometimes by mistake, and sometimes, like we said, selective export.
Yeah.
Sometimes that person already has certain inclinations. He already has his own personality. So he comes here, and this is true for all of us. Yeah. We notice and we take on that those things that resonate with us. Yeah. So he takes from the scholars that which resonates with him, those things that click with him, and then he takes that back. Sometimes unknowingly. Yeah. And sometimes the person already has an agenda and he does that knowingly. Yeah. So he selectively exports what he wants and leaves out everything else. But at the end of the day, that miskeen who is there back in the West, if this is his only source, no other source, that's the only source from which he takes Islamic knowledge, his perspectives, his look through life, and that's his only source. And even worse, if that is the only guy, he doesn't even take from other translators too, he just focuses on this guy, then you feel for him. Yeah. Because now you're just blind.
How do we get to the subject? What were we talking about before this?
we were just talking about last week how somebody misunderstood.
Oh, yeah. So the importance of teaching in Arabic. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you. All right, so
that's what happens if you don't have a guest.
The conversation kind of goes all over the place. Tayyib. So jumping into the last segment for today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we wanted to go over a few of the good characteristics to look for in a spouse and just some different marital advices. Now, before we jump into this topic, I really want to give kind of like an introduction or just a reason why this is so important to talk about, because in this day and age, I mean, it's not hidden from anyone that the divorce rate is very high. And also there's kind of like a push for people almost not to get married. They even have names for these different groups. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but like there's names for these different groups where like men going their own way type of thing, right? So kind of like go off and just not get married. Then you got people who, who suggest maybe not getting married, until you've accomplished X, Y, and Z. And, yes, there's some truth to that. However, what we want to talk about is a clear indication of how to go about, inshallah. And obviously it can't be summed up in one podcast, but something to start along that path of trying to seek knowledge, or trying to seek marriage, rather, and knowing that Islam is the religion of Allah Ta'ala, which is a deenun kamil, shamil, is complete religion. So it's suitable for every time and every place, versus those people today who may say that marriage isn't suitable for today. It's kind of like a refutation against that particular understanding, because we know that Islam is complete for all times and all aspects in all places.
I think what makes that particular outlook, if you like, is people that might be looking at marriage from a Western perspective. Yeah. Because marriage in the West is completely different from Islamic marriage.
Of course.
And
I think that's where the mix-up comes in, where people are mixing, a lot of individuals are mixing a Western point of view. Yeah. Different things that are, even in the law, in a Western view, versus an Islamic perspective on the issue. Yeah. And this is, what's taken to the...
Because if you look at it, in the West, marriage means, okay, to some extent, it means, half your wealth goes to your wife, you got divorced. That's, I think, why a lot of the...
Or more than half.
Or more than half. That's why a lot of men who have money, they're against marriage because of that. And it also means, for them, marriage is just this legal obligation, restriction, if you like, to just between them two. That's it. And even from a Christian perspective, it's forever. It's eternal.
Yeah, and
that's
they
why
say
divorce is not even permissible, I think, in
yeah,
Christianity.
yeah, and a lot of these groups see it as like there's not nothing really. There's no how can I say it? There's no real benefit.
Yeah, to getting married.
To getting married today, especially for the man. If you're looking at it from the aspect of the Western point of view, they'll look at it and be like, "There's no real true benefit to it." Especially
why? Because they do everything.
Yeah, yeah.
That we see you need to get married for before doing it. They do it without marriage.
Yeah.
They have kids without marriage.
Mm-hmm.
They live with their partners without marriage.
Mm-hmm.
They have relations without marriage. So now for you to take that kind of perspective and be like, oh, as a Muslim, I'm going to follow this guy with this Western perspective and I'm going to delay marriage the way they delay marriage.
Yeah.
Is not the same thing. I mean, let's put it this way. Imagine someone in those Western societies says, delay marital or delay intimate relationships until you finish your university. They'll say you're crazy.
Sahih.
They say, what? I'm not. No. They're not going to accept that. Why? Because that's basically what it means not getting married in Islamic terms. You don't get married in Islamic terms. That means you as a man or you as a woman are not allowed to have any intimate relationships or get into any sort of relationship with the opposite gender. Yes, until you get married. So delaying marriage in Islam is completely different from delaying marriage in Western societies because two different things completely. So we have to stick to the Islamic. So that's why I think today the most important thing is maybe you can do is clarify what is the Islamic marriage.
But I want to go over some of the importance of marriage, and then also some of the objectives to marriage, because some people simply think that, the objective is simply to have, intimate relationships with your wife, and it's much more. There's much more maqasid, versus that. Because after that honeymoon phase, now this is where the responsibility kicks in. And this is specifically for both, but more so for the man. He really needs to understand that there's going to be some obligations that he now needs to step up to the plate and make sure he's fulfilling, because he's looking after other individuals. But before I go into that, you had something you want to discuss, right?
No, I wanted to share a few points from Sheikh Sulaiman Rahili's lecture in the UK. And I know you're going to share some from the Sheikh's lecture in the UAE.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that lecture was maybe 2 weeks after the Sheikh got back from the UK. So the one in the UK is more general. It was called Principles in Dealing with the Creation of Allah.
Is this his recent trip
to
UK?
Yeah, his recent trip to UK, yeah.
Oh, no, this one is like 3-4 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think he's done a similar one as well.
Yeah, I think he does a few dawrats like this, like the fiqh al-usra and, fiqh al-libas and all these different things that are connected somewhat to these issues.
Okay.
Yeah, which shows you the importance of it. That the Sheikh keeps going back when he goes to the UAE, he's dealing with these issues on a consistent basis.
Yeah, subhanAllah. So, so some of the points the Sheikh mentioned, they're not all of them, just 2 or 3. And I'm sure there's some kind of overlap. But let's just start with these 2 or 3, which we said relates to everyone, not just marriage. First one the Sheikh mentioned is that that you treat people the way you treat them for the sake of Allah.
No.
This is the most important thing. Whatever you do, Ya Abdullah, do it for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of the individual. Which brings us, Akhil Kareem, to the importance of Tawheed. Subhanallah, just think of it. If every Muslim, whatever he does, let alone his worship towards his Lord, which is everything related between him and his Lord, or even everything that he does in terms of treating Allah's creation, he does it for the sake of Allah. I just want you to imagine how the Muslim household would be, how the Muslim community would be, and how the Ummah would be as a whole, if everyone done everything he does for the sake of Allah. So the husband is good to his wife for the sake of Allah. The wife is good to her husband for the sake of Allah. The parents are good to their children for the sake of Allah. Children obey their parents for the sake of Allah. And the Ummah at large, the Sha'ab or the population, they obey their Muslim rulers for the sake of Allah. And the Muslim ruler fulfills his obligations for the sake of Allah. Just imagine what sort of Ummah you would end up with. So that's the first one.
No.
Everything you do for the sake of Allah. And the Shaykh mentioned that this brings 2 things. Number 1, that you end up, that you don't become someone who constantly reminds people of their favors. Okay? That's one thing. And you can't remind people of your favors because Allah is the one that's giving you tawfiq. And I think the other point as well was that treat Allah the way you treat people, the way you would like to be treated.
No.
That's one of the usul, subhanallah. The hadith mentions that whoever من أحب أن يزحزح عن النار ويدخل الجنة فلتأته منيته وهو يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر وليأتي إلى الناس بما يحب أن يؤتى إليه. Whoever wants to be saved from hellfire and enter into Jannah, then let him believe in Allah in the last day and let him treat the people the way he likes to be treated.
No.
So who doesn't want to go? Jannah. Who doesn't want to be saved from hellfire?
No.
If this is your objective, my dear brother and sister, and this is all of our objectives, then the way you get there is by believing Allah in the last day and treating people the way you would like to be treated. And there's other principles, but I think those two are the most important principles on which if everything are built on these two principles, everything else falls in place, inshallah ta'ala.
So sum it up into the two principles.
So
walk away with
everything you do it for the sake of Allah.
Jameel.
If you're good to someone, it's for the sake of Allah and not for their sake.
Mumtaz. And then the second one.
Okay, and don't be someone who only is good to people if they're good to them.
Exactly.
This applies to everyone.
Yes.
Even the disbeliever.
Yes.
Even animals. Right? It's like if you're someone like, I'm gonna be good to him if he's good to me. I'll be bad to him if he's bad to me. And what did you bring to the table?
100%. Yeah.
And the other one, if you were to ask what is treating others good, then it is to treat them the way you would like to be treated.
Jameel. Mumtaz. Barakallah feek. So yeah, Allahu Akbar. I think you also touched on something that was very important before that, is that keep in mind as we go through these importance of marriage and also the obligations, to also take in consideration that the basis has to be tawheed.
Yeah.
For any prosperous marriage that's going to move forward and really allow, both the husband and the wife to really benefit from marriage, they have to keep at mind that Islam is the base core. And if they're focusing on tawheed, and if we're focusing on, pleasing Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, then it's going to build upon that. That's what's going to lead to what you said as far as treating people how you would like to be treated. Meaning in accordance to not only a personal how you would like to be treated, but also the shara. And with their rights, giving them the rights to how you would like your rights to be given to you. Yeah. And keeping this in mind moving forward. So from the first things that, this is from Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, his lecture that he gave in the UAE. From the first thing that he mentioned from the most important aspects of marriage is that أنه ميثاق غليظ. Yani it is something which is a solemn covenant, as Allah Ta'ala says in the ayah, وَكَيْفَ تَأْخُذُونَهُ وَقَدْ أَفْضَى بَعْضُكُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. So, and how could you take it when you have been intimate with one another and they have taken from you a solemn covenant? And this is, obviously allowing the two spouses to have intimacy, upon which is the dowry being given to the woman, and now the intimacy being allowed to prosper, being able to enter upon your wife.
Yeah, so again, this is one of the major differences between Islamic marriage, or if you like, partnership, Islamic partners, yes, upon marriage, and the Western societies, a major difference, which is that before a Muslim woman gets into a partnership with a Muslim man, or a Muslim man gets into a partnership with a Muslim woman, this covenant, like you mentioned, great covenant of marriage is taken. And this, wallahi, if anything, it is to preserve the right of the Muslim sister more than the man. Okay, because this is something the West, they don't want you to think this way, because Western society, it's all based on the interest of the man, not the interest of the woman. No matter how much they try to flip things, right? But this marriage, if you like, aqd and az-zawaj, if anything, it's to protect the right of the woman. Why? Because the man, if they enter into relationships, right, and the woman becomes pregnant, who carries that burden? Not the man. He can go and disappear. Who's the one that has to carry that child, look after that child? Who carries that burden? The woman. So it just makes sense that before she gives up, that thing, if you like, that before she gets intimate with this individual, that they take this important covenant which Allah has mentioned.
And what it
مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. Allah has mentioned this. So a man can't take this lightly.
And to be more like direct with it, this covenant to uphold the rights of one another as well. So you now have to look after her and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding her, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِي النِّسَاءِ فَإِنَّكُمْ أَخَفْتُمُوهُنَّ بِأَمَانِ اللَّهِ وَاسْتَحْلَلْتُمْ فُرُوجَهُنَّ بِكَلِمَةِ اللَّهِ. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concerning the women. Verily you have taken them on the security of Allah, yani be with a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and intercourse with them has been made lawful unto you by the words of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So a person has to uphold the rights of the woman now, and the woman
something not to be taken lightly.
Marriage.
It's something that's not to be taken lightly
At all. Exactly.
Marriage not to be taken lightly, and in that sense.
No. Also from the aspects or the importance of marriage is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has made it one of the greatest favors upon His servant. And the proof for that is the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made from you wives, partners from yourselves. You have anything on that one before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, just imagine, subhanallah, Adam alayhi salam, Allah created Hawa from Adam alayhi salam. And, obviously, this was one of the greatest favors of Allah upon Adam alayhi salam. The same thing for us. I mean, a man will never feel complete, okay, until he has that partner. And a woman is never feels complete until she has a partner as well. The Prophet mentioned that marriage is half of your religion.
No.
So whoever gets married, then he has indeed completed half of his religion. So fear Allah in the other half. So we're all deficient, if you like, until we find that partner which helps us in our dunya and in our akhirah, and it's one of the greatest favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no doubt.
And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this something which is an ayah that is dalatun ali. As Allah ta'ala has mentioned. You could take it from the last ayah, but also from another ayah. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So from the ayats of Allah ta'ala is that He made from you, from yourselves, a partner, أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you could find some type of ease in them. From the next importances of Zawaj is that it's important to understand that this is from the Sunnah al-Mursaleen. It's from the Sunnah of the prophets who came before, the messengers who came before. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِّن قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. And we have indeed sent before you other prophets who have come with their, and we have made for them wives and also offspring.
No. So
this is a clear refutation for those who say not to get married and not to stay away from marriage, or not needing of a woman in this day and age, as we found in the other hadith as well, where the three who came and said, "I will never get married." It was one of the things he mentioned, right?
Yeah.
And the Prophet some said, "Rather I marry women." So a clear rebuttal to that as well.
And let alone those that say it for dunya reasons, they're definitely wrong.
No.
But even those that might want to claim this for religious reasons, or I'm going to seek knowledge.
No.
أنا أتفرغ لطلب العلم.
No.
I don't want a wife to busy me. We say to you, you're not better than the messengers and the prophets who also got married.
No.
No.
And also more specifically, it's from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was from his Sunnah that he got married, and that he encouraged those to get married. Like we said in the hadith, where the people who said that I'm not going to get married, or I'm not going to eat, I'm just going to fast, etc. He said, "What? ولكنني أصوم وأفطر." Yani I fast and I break my fast, meaning I don't fast completely or consistently. وأقوم وأرقد وتزوج النساء, and I marry the women, and I marry women. فمن رغب عن سنتي فليس مني, and whoever goes against my sunnah, he is not from me.
Prophet I mentioned in another hadith as well. This is very relevant obviously to the youth. يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج.
نعم.
Oh youth, addressing the youth. نعم, addressing you and me, addressing the youth. I hold myself to be from the youth, inshallah. So Prophet يا معشر الشباب, oh youth, whoever among you is able to marry, then let him marry.
No.
Don't postpone it. If you're able to marry, marry.
100%.
We'll talk about, inshallah, what ability means anyway, I suppose.
Yeah.
But if you're able to marry, then marry. Prophet ﷺ told you, and he advised you, and he encouraged you to get married. So are you going to take the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's encouragement or encouragement from your, whatever, your society or your no one's advice is to be taken more than the advice of our Prophet Muhammad
sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, also, from the best things in the dunya is that you can have as a righteous wife, as the Prophet said in another hadith.
Yeah.
Lisanun dhakir, a tongue which is from the best things of the dunya, a tongue which is in a continuous remembrance of Allah Ta'ala, a heart which is thankful, and from those things, zawjatun mu'minah, a believing woman, a wife that tu'inuhu ala imanihi, yani aids him in his faith, aids him in his worship of Allah Ta'ala. So these are from the best things, from the most enjoyous things, mata'ud dunya. Most enjoyable things in this dunya is to have a righteous wife.
Like the other hadith mentions, الدنيا كلها متاع.
نعم.
خير متاعها المرأة الصالحة.
صحيح.
The dunya is all mata', it's all enjoyment and these sort of things, but the best of its enjoyment is a righteous wife.
The Prophet ﷺ, he said, from the four things that give you sa'ada, bring about happiness in this life, وفق الرجل إليه المرأة الصالحة, to a man to be able to have a righteous woman. Going on to some other things that I mentioned that was really prevalent in this conversation was more so I want to shift it from the importance, because I think we addressed the importance, and I think the importance also can be seen and understood from anyone who looks at marriage versus being single. It helps the community. It helps bring people together. It helps us to separate. And Sheikh Solemn mentioned this earlier in the lecture about how it separates the human beings from the animals. Yeah. Look at how marriage is right now look how relationships are right now amongst the kuffar, this boyfriend and girlfriend system. And they have no rules. Yeah. They have no stipulations. There has no rights. There's no protection for the woman. Now there's very, very little protection to the man as well, even in the legal system, in a legally protected way. So there's nothing there that separates really from the way they act versus how animals act, generally speaking. So it leads to a lot of single women. It leads to a lot of single women. It leads to a lot of children everywhere.
That's a problem. If you look in the West, most of the youth who are incarcerated, who are in prison, you'll find that they come from broken households.
No.
Either the mother or the father is missing. A family or a household that has both its pillar, mother and father, this is the basis of a thriving community.
Sahih.
That's the base of a thriving community.
No,
if this goes missing, and you have all the children growing up in broken households, either only a mother or a father, where daughters don't know who their father are.
No,
so these daughters, they wake up, these girls, they grow up, with this integral part of their identity missing. Which means they fall prey to predators from amongst the men much more easily, because they have a lack of confidence. They have no father figure, no manly figure in their life.
And likewise, on the same aspect, the boy
as
if he's not growing up with that father figure, then he has no understanding, or little understanding, I should say, to how to be a man, how to not. You'll see they're a little overly emotional as well.
Yeah, why? And the woman can't deal with him.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is very important. And from the things that lead to people leaving off marriage, or even a lot of divorce, and you kind of touched on this earlier, from the biggest things is jahl. Ignorance of the rights, ignorance of the do's and the don'ts, ignorance of how to live about and have a prosperous life between the husband and the wife. And Sheikh Solemn, he touches on this as well, which is encouragement to all of us to make sure we seek knowledge. Make sure we seek knowledge and understand how the Prophet ﷺ was with his wives, and how the wives were with the Prophet ﷺ, and the Salaf, generally speaking, how they lived and how they maintained their homes.
Prophet ﷺ said, this is actually a profound hadith, he said, خيركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهلي.
No.
Contemplate on this. He said, the best of you from among you, the best of you are those who are best to their families and their wives and their children. And I'm the best of you of all of you to my family.
No.
This is our role model, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And
Allah.
contemplate, when we look in our society, we tend to look up to people with high positions, with statuses, people with a lot of money, a lot of knowledge, or a lot of whatever. But that's not really according to this hadith, what makes a man a good man is how he treats his family.
Sahih.
Everyone, yes, outside, on camera, or in the masjid, yes, every man is a good man.
No.
Everyone wants to be the guy who invites everyone who's generous.
No.
He's generous when he's outside because now his reputation depends on it.
Yeah.
But now when you're within the confines of your home and nobody can see you other than Allah, and you got your wife and kids, yes, who are weaker than you, who depend on you, who got nobody to complain to about you. This is a real test of your character.
Sahih.
If you're actually a good person, the good person that you claim to be, or if you're just a show-off. Because many people,
Sahih.
many men, they are show-offs within their communities. They're the most generous, but their wives and children, they don't spend money on them.
Sahih.
Right?
Allah musta'an.
And they might be very patient, or they might come across as someone who smiles, or someone who's got good akhlaq.
No.
But at home, he's a monster. This individual, we say to him, you're not khairukum, you're sharrukum. You're the worst of people. Regardless of how the people see you. And this actually, as a matter of fact, if you look at it, it is actually quite a test of your ikhlas.
Sahih. 100%.
Of your ikhlas. And that's why we mentioned
100%.
earlier tawheed.
No.
Okay?
100%.
So if you find yourself, wallahi, if you find yourself, the moment you step outside the house, you're a different man. You're open. You're bubbly. You're good. You're generous. And you have all these good characteristics. But then the moment you enter your house, you're a monster. Wallahi, you have to return back to your ikhlas.
100%.
You have to ask yourself, how come? Yani Allah can't see me when I'm at home? Allah can see you when you're at home and you're outside. As a matter of fact, is there anyone that is worthy of your good companionship and you treating them well? Is your wife and your children.
Sahih.
If anyone. Because they have the greatest right upon you. They've got a greater right upon you than your friends in the masjid.
100%. 100%. Now I want to just shift the conversation and talk about some of the maqasid, some of the objections of marriage. The actual
Objectives
that you're trying to achieve from this marriage. And then I want to finish it off with just some advice, from myself and you to brothers and sisters who are looking to get married, and also maybe brothers and sisters who are married. Maybe we can give them some extra advice on that topic. So just the first thing that from the maqasid, from the objectives of marriage is that, having offspring, to have more children. As Allah Ta'ala addresses in the Quran, and also the Prophet ﷺ addressed in the Hadith, where he explained and encouraged the people to marry those who are fertile and able to have children, so that he can come makathirun anbiya, yani فإني مكاثر الأنبياء يوم القيامة, yani the prophet with the most followers.
مكاثر بكم.
Naam.
Or maybe Anbiya, I think mentions it here.
Naam, and that comes in authentic hadith. And then also you have a tarahim, so upholding these rights, upholding these obligations, which then trickles down to the entire family, the children, and having mercy with them as well. Then it goes on to the community, etc. This is something that leads us to have more compassion with one another, especially when you look at how, and the Shaykh, he mentioned this from the maqasid as well, that it brings about different communities. When, for example, a man offers or marries his daughter off to, someone else who is in the community, now them communities have a bit of a connection. Families have a bit of connection now. And now there's a bit more rahmah, mercy between those two as well. It
reminds me of what Sheikh, it reminds me of Malik Abdul Aziz done.
Yes, exactly.
When he became the king, he was king, but when he took over different regions and different tribes came under his rulership, he married from every tribe.
No.
And by way of that established some level of, connection.
Yeah, of course. Barakallah fiqh. So now, there's a lot more, obviously, objectives and importance of marriage that we can mention, and we can really go on forever. That these different lectures and books on this is almost never ending, especially when you get into the fiqh aspect of it as well, with the do's and the don'ts. But I think we'll end it right there and just with some advice. Do you have any advice for the young brothers and sisters looking to get married? And also, just to add to that, before you go into your advices, there was some quick importances of marriage that we didn't mention that I think I need to mention here, which is that first is the importance of marriage is that it's something which is a branch of your faith, right? It's something which is from the fard min al-fara'id, yani it's from the obligations. It's from the asbab al-iffa, and this is something I took from Sheikh bin Baz as well, from the asbab al-iffa, yani things that help protect chastity. It also is min asbab al-istiqama, something that gives you thabat and stability. Women asbab al-salah al-mujtama', steadfastness. It also gives you correctness of the communities, right? It preserves our communities from, the obvious. Women asbab kathrat al-nasl, and likewise, it gives us the ability to have more offspring, and leading to the more increase of the nation. And other than that, so with that, I mentioned all that to say that we can go into all of these with a lot more detail, even the aspect of lowering the gaze, and we can talk about it forever. Really, it's something that a conference and books can be done on. But with that being said, we just want to give you just a little bit to show that there's importance to marriage and there's objectives to marriage that people need to take in consideration, and abstaining from marriage shouldn't be an option. Now, so what's your advice that you would give to some of the youth, from the brothers and sisters looking to get married today?
Wallahi, akhi, obviously the obvious, which is get married if you can. Don't postpone it and don't overcomplicate things.
No.
I know many brothers, wallahi, who wanted to get married when I wanted to get married. Alhamdulillah, I got married at a young age. I think I was 19 when I got married.
MashaAllah.
And there were a lot of brothers who also wanted to get married at the same time, but they overcomplicated stuff. And they were kind of like looking for the perfect sister.
Yeah.
You're not going to find the perfect sister.
Sahih.
Okay? It's, don't overcomplicate stuff. The end of the day, these things are written, yes? And, like I said again, let's look at marriage from an Islamic perspective, not from a Western or Christian perspective, right? Now, as much as we said that marriage is something not to be taken lightly, it's mithaqan ghalidha, yes? At the same time, divorce is an option, right? Something Allah Ta'ala, even though it's one of the most hated things to Allah Ta'ala that is permissible, it's still an option, which means that if, God forbid, you made the wrong choice, and obviously pray istikhara, of course, leave it to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, but if, la qaddar Allah, turns out you two are not suitable, yes? No. Then there is a way out. So don't overthink things and think that, just like the Christians, they do, once you get married, there's no way out. Because that is within Christianity, you can't get divorced. But that's not the way it is in Islamic terms, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And you're not going to lose half your wealth. You're not going to be put in prison. Do your best. Do your homework. Try and find someone that is suitable to you. Keep everything halal, 100%. Yes. Wallahi akhil kareem. People, they underestimate the importance of keeping things halal and not going over bounds. One of the reasons why a lot of marriages, especially at the beginning, they fail, especially amongst two practicing individuals, because initially they will spend too much time talking over the phone, right? And obviously what's going to happen. When you talk over the phone, you are going to, how can I put it? At best, you're going to give a wrong impression, right? You're going to promise things, and she's gonna develop this picture of you, and you're going to develop a picture of her.
What do you mean, like they're planning to get married?
Yeah, they're planning to get married. They spend too much time over the phone talking about stuff. Just basically, obviously, you're allowed to have a meeting to meet your prospective wife.
Of course,
yes? You're allowed to communicate regarding things to do with marriage.
Of course.
But you shouldn't get involved in long phone conversations every single night, getting to flirt.
You mean amongst them too?
Amongst them too, yeah, themselves, yeah.
Seclusion, talking.
Yeah, seclusion and talking, and obviously building a wrong picture. Yeah, that's what men do anyway. Truth has to be said, right? Nobody before they get married, before they get into a relationship, shows their true colors, right? So that's the truth. So if you're gonna build your picture of your future husband or your future wife based on those phone conversations, then what happens is they get married, and it turns out it's not all roses.
I wouldn't say
they kind of feel betrayed.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that they build their like a false picture, like that's not who they're gonna marry. But I would say that they don't have the full picture. Like the thing is, you only really know somebody until you actually like live with them, and you go through this like these different trials of being in a house with a completely different person, living a completely different life that you might be accustomed to living. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's true. But now these sort of conversations that they have, yes, They talk about a lot of different things.
One second. I'm not saying that it's permissible to do this.
I understand.
But I was just commenting on that part that you mentioned about, like they give like this false impression. What I'm trying to say is that
it does look, if you're giving half of the picture and not the full picture, then that's a false picture because that's the full picture. Okay, so it's deficient.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Everybody likes to in this kind of situation only show the good side.
Of course, 100%.
So
on both sides, the man and the women, and the
on both sides.
Everybody wants to bring their best image to the chair.
Exactly.
And put it forth. Yeah, exactly. Of course.
So then what happens? They get married and they kind of feel betrayed. Like, hey, you didn't say this over the phone. No, you said this. Or you said that. And then they already starts off on a wrong footing. But if you keep it halal, yes, you don't know what to expect. Obviously, you've done your homework. You've asked. You've asked about her. She has asked about him, and to the best of your ability. Yeah. But you don't come with an added baggage of this is what I was expecting.
You don't come with some type of expectations that are above measure.
Exactly.
And then that person doesn't meet those above measure expectations.
Exactly. Otherwise, you turn up at the marriage with a checklist. So you already got a checklist ready. Okay, you said you're gonna do this. Okay, let's wait for it. Yeah. It doesn't get done. It's wrong. I mean, that's one advice.
So okay, that was the advice that you gave right now is for the brothers looking to get married.
Yeah.
And obviously you've been married for over 10 years now, right?
Yeah, close to 13, I think. Yeah.
Jameel, so now what would you be your advice for the brothers and sisters who might be married right now that might be in their early stages, like maybe the first year or second year? Because what I realized personally is that there's like different, I would say like kind of like milestones that you meet in marriage. Like you see it when you're going, like there's the 2 year is different from the when you first get married. Then there's like the 5 year that's completely different than everything that preceded that.
Yeah.
Then you reach the 10 year and it's like, this is kind of like things are pretty much solidified for a certain aspect. You know the likes and the dislikes, etc. Now it's just building upon that and then passing the wisdom on. So what would be
I think
some
you've
advice?
been married beyond a decade as well, no?
Yeah, I've been married since I was 17. So
even before me, a long time.
So 13 going on 14 years.
Mashallah, long time.
So but I'll get to that later, but I want to hear your advice on it. So what would you advise to those people who might be just getting married?
Well, akhi, we mentioned 2 principles already from the Sheikh's lecture.
No.
Actually, there's a third one as well, and I think it really comes down to this.
Yeah.
What the Sheikh mentioned as well in the lecture is the third principle, which is you focus on fulfilling those rights that are upon you and ask Allah for your rights. This should be your focus. Your focus should be, how can I do everything that is wajib upon me? And those rights that you don't get from your wife, or the wife doesn't get from her husband, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those rights. Okay? And Shaykh Salman also mentions this a lot of times. He says, don't expect to get your rights in full. Don't expect. If you expect that, then things are going to go wrong. Absolutely. And there are many lectures out there, and then for example, right now, if me and you say, let's do a lecture on the rights of a husband over his wife, guess what's going to happen? A lot of sisters are going to say, why don't you do a lecture of the rights of the wife over her husband? I would say
there's always this pushback.
There's always this pushback.
On both sides.
Yes. So the wife is like, no, how about you to talk about the rights that I have over him? And the husband's like, no, how about you talk the rights I have over her? La, you have to change your whole perspective. Rather, this is how it should be for you. It should be like, okay, Jazakallah khairan for mentioning the rights that are upon me. Because now I can fulfill my wajib. And if I fulfill my wajib, alhamdulillah, then my akhir is okay. At least I'm not in trouble.
They're looking at
He's got something to worry about. You should feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Wallahi, the sister should be like, these husbands. Ustad didn't talk about the rights that they should do for us. They're falling short. So at least we can fulfill our wajib, alhamdulillah.
So your first advice would just be to make sure that you don't completely ask for, or don't expect, don't fall short in giving your rights, even though someone else may be short in giving the rights to you. That's what you're saying.
100%. My point is focus on the rights that are upon you before the rights that are for you. And to finish up with one ayah.
Yeah.
This is one of the most beautiful ayahs in the Quran. Allah says, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ. Good and bad are not the same. No doubt. Yes, you treat someone good, he treats you bad, they're not the same.
No.
But Allah says, idfa billati hiya ahsan. However, repel bad with that which is better.
No.
Repel bad with that which is better.
No.
Why? Because if he doesn't fulfill your rights, and as a consequence, you're like, okay, you don't fulfill my rights, I'm not going to fulfill your rights. And he does the same thing. What's going to happen? It's called negative feedback loop. It's basically a race to the bottom. Yes? That marriage has got no hope.
Sahih.
Yes? Because now it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Sahih.
So Allah says, repel that which is bad with that which is better. What's the result? فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. Allah says it will be that between you and the one who there's some level of animosity, your enemy will become your closest friend. Let alone your wife. Ya akhi, your enemy. Your enemy will become a close friend to you. If you are someone who repels bad with good. He treats you bad, you treat him good. And we have many examples in the past. Look at Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how Quraysh treated him, how he treated them, and what that led to. Yes. And everything. So if you want to summarize, if you want to improve your marriage, and you want to rectify your wife, or we say to the wife, if you want to rectify your husband, the way you rectify him or the way you rectify her is to do what? Is to lead by example. Okay? They treat you bad, you treat them good. I guarantee you, it's just a matter of time before he notices or before she notices and she says, no, I'm being so bad to him, he's being so good to me, you know, and they're going to start feeling bad and they'll turn their lives around. But if you are going to copy them, they do something wrong, they don't fulfill your rights, you do the same thing, then I guarantee you things will only get worse and they will never get better.
Reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that rifq doesn't enter something except that zana, yani beautifies it. Yani gentleness doesn't enter into something except that it beautifies it.
No.
Yeah, jazakallah khair. Yeah, I think that's some good advice. Barakallah fi, especially that last point. You got to keep that in mind as far as, you know, just being good and repelling, you know, evil actions with better actions.
No.
If I was to answer the same questions, I would probably say and I don't know if you agree with some of the things I say or not, but let's go through them. I mean, just the things that come to mind. I haven't written anything down, but things that come to mind for a male's perspective getting married, and I'm talking from experience and also just seeing, you know, how things are playing out in this day and age. I came up with something that I would call the 3P system. I think I told you about it, right?
Mashallah.
I think I told you about it, right?
No, I'm not sure.
So pretty much I would advise brothers who are trying to get married or looking to get married to, yes, I'm not saying delay marriage till whenever, like 30s, 40s, 50s, nothing like that. But what I am saying is to take into consideration these three things. First one, make sure you have a purpose. And the purpose, first and foremost, will be, you know, obviously our purpose as Muslims, which would be, you know, to worship Allah Ta'ala, but also the purpose in which your plans you're trying to pursue in order to help establish that even better. What work are you trying to get into? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to establish? That way you have a clear indication or a clear direction of your life, so that when you are responsible for somebody else's lives, that it's not completely going in the wind.
Yeah, but that's true. I think if your wife sees that you have a purpose in life, she will aid you, she'll be behind you. Supposed to be she's just someone who's confused.
Exactly. So that's one thing that has to be established, I would say. Yeah. The second thing will have to be a plan to actually establish that purpose. So not just have it some idea. A lot of people have ideas. A lot of people have dreams and aspirations, but nobody goes about having an actual plan, something written down today on how you're going to establish it and what you're doing. And this leads me to that last P, which is proof. What are you doing to prove that you're actually putting that purpose and that plan in play?
Action.
Exactly. Yeah. So these three is things that I always kind of like try to advise the young brothers who are trying to get married, because some people just go in, and it's why I wanted to really mention the objectives of marriage, because they go in with this thought that the only objective for them is to, you know, get some intimacy, some halal intimacy with a woman. Yes, that's important. But after that honeymoon phase, after that beginning stages, this is when there's duties that kick in. There's things that need to be established. And if they're not established and upheld, then it can lead to a quick turnover. You know,
Mashallah.
it can lead to a quick turnover. So that's things that I would advise the brothers.
Akhi, that 3P system is brilliant, akhi. Golden.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
And I think not just marriage, akhi. I think it's something that someone can apply to everything. If you're going to do something, have a purpose, make a plan, and then prove it. And I think everybody, if somebody's going to go wrong, they're going to go wrong in one of these three things. Either they're wandering without a purpose.
Yes.
Or they've got a dream, like you said. They want to reach somewhere, but they've got no plan to get there.
Yes.
Or they have both, but they're not putting the work in.
100%. 100%. So I think it's very important for a man to establish that. And I think it leads to more respect as well from the wife as well, to see that, you know, she has a leader who's actually going to help encourage and lead them to a better area than what they're in, or a better situation than what they're in.
She's your biggest investor. I think some brothers, they overlook this. They overlook this. She is a shareholder in your life.
100%.
You know,
100%.
just like someone who has a company, right? She's a shareholder.
Yes.
She's investing her life in your life.
Yes.
So she has a right to know where you're going with your life, what you're planning with your life. And if that is clear for her, wallah, she'll be patient. It doesn't matter if it takes 5 years or 10 years or 15 years.
Yeah.
If you share that mission and that vision with her, and she signs up for it and she agrees with it, believe me, she will be your greatest supporter. She'll be by your side. And she'll be patient. But if you go from thing to thing...
Yeah, but as long as you're establishing that system that I talked about.
Yeah, so you have a purpose, you share that with her.
You're actually establishing and showing it and proving it. Because if you're just sitting and the truth got to be told, some guys are sitting around playing video games all day. You know, some guys are sitting around watching movies all day or things like that. If you're saying you want to accomplish something, but you're not actually putting any type of receipts forward to show that you're achieving it, then obviously it's going to directly or indirectly lead to a lack of respect and a lack of upholding, like, any type of rights. Not rights. I don't want to say rights, but there's going to be something lost there.
No.
You know, the woman's not going to look at you as that same leader that she married when you had that clear plan and that clear procedure of how you were going to focus them things out. Because now it's just kalam. Yeah, it's kalam faulty.
No, she might give you a year.
Yeah, she might give you a little time, but I mean, just
eventually she'll be like, this guy's a joker.
Yeah, it's going to start going down. And yeah, so that's something I would give to the brothers before getting married. The sisters, what would be some advice for the sisters? I would just say, let's maybe leave that for another day, because there's a lot of advice that can go to the sisters. However, there's a lot that can be said there. To be honest, there's a lot that we can say there. But generally speaking,
I think for the sisters. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You go.
No, I would say...
Because you didn't give advice to the sisters.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I think for the sisters, really, it's... look, on the sister side, look, the husband side, he has to put bread on the table. He has to work hard and everything, right? As far as the sister is concerned, apart from obviously bringing up her children and looking after their household and the family, her kind of like responsibility also is to please her husband.
Of course.
Right? Now, my advice to the sisters would be, look at your husband and look at those things he values the most. Because every man is different.
Yes.
Okay? Some man, their most important thing might be the intimacy. Other man, their most important thing might be their food. Right? Other man, what they care about most is that you stay home. Every man has priorities. Okay? It differs from man to man. Right? So what I would say is, if you really want to make life easier for yourself and please your husband with the least amount of effort, look at, you'll figure this out very quickly when you get married. Look at what this guy's most important things are. Yeah. If his most important thing is food, then focus on that. Yeah. Because then if he's happy with that, everything else will fall in place.
Yeah. The Prophet ﷺ, there was one of the Sahabis that came to him, and he asked her, "Do you have a husband?" She said yes, and then he said, "How are you with him?" He said, "I do not fall short in serving him and pleasing him, except that which is beyond me," meaning that which I'm unable to do. So the Prophet said, "Watch how you are with him, for he is your paradise or your hellfire." So it's a very serious affair. Likewise, the Prophet said in another hadith, if a woman prays her 5 daily prayers, fasts her month of Ramadan, guards her chastity, and obeys her husband, it will be said to her, enter paradise through whatever gate you wish.
Allāhu Akbar.
So to add to what you said, yes, this is something which is of the priorities. Like, women need to, the truth has to be said. I mean, this day and age, feminism is on the rise, and these type of things that lead a woman outside of the house and outside of her priorities and proper importance, things that are in her best interests, are being pushed on them more so. And Sheikh Fawzan even has a entire book on this about the enemies trying to attack the women in the house and take them out of the house and lead them into deep water, so to say.
No.
So the truth has to be said, and I know some people, it might not sit well with them, but the priorities is for the woman is being in the house and being with fulfilling her duties in the house for the children and taking care of those different things. That's her kingdom, and that's what she's going to be asked about Yawm al-Qiyamah. So I would say just general advice before getting married is to take these hadith into consideration and understand the purpose of getting married. The purpose of getting married isn't just having a friend, a husband there to talk to you and and listen and try to engage with you in certain ways, but rather he's there to lead you and there to, like the Prophet said, this is your paradise or your hellfire. This is someone you must obey. You have to look into the obligations and the different things that is upon you in these situations. Prepare yourself for them as well. Like we said earlier, you don't come to if somebody said they was digging up gold and things like that, you don't come there with a spoon or your hand. You got to come there prepared. So what are things that's going to help you get prepared to be the best mother you can be, to be the best wife you can be, to be the best guardian of the house you can be, to, all of these different things, and how can you protect this paradise or your hellfire? How are you going to establish that? How are you going to try to achieve this goal of entering into paradise for any door you can possibly do? So that'll be my advice to the woman, I guess, some would say.
And one danger, please pay attention to this. Wallahi, this is a problem, akhi. There are sisters out there, unfortunately, may Allah Ta'ala guide them. It could be maybe because of a bad experience they had with marriage. It could be because they were married and they got divorced.
Yeah.
And there's got a level of hasad with them that they might not say out loud.
Yeah.
These sisters, they made a purpose in their life, and it's their job in life, to kind of like beautify single life to the sisters.
Single independent.
Look at me, I'm driving, I got this, and they kind of like paint the picture, wallahi, for those women who are married, that you're better off being divorced, you're better off as a single mother. And Allah knows best, that the vast majority of these sisters, they are hurting inside. Of course, and they wish that they were married, but it's a coping mechanism. It's like for them to cope with the difficulties they're going through, they want to portray a different picture than what the reality is, and instead of being honest with their Muslim sisters, they give them a wrong impression. So
of course.
Please, if you are married in a stable household, alhamdulillah, you're married, you've got a loving husband, do not allow other sisters, to trick in the guise, in the guise of nasihah or whatever, or wanting good for you, don't allow them to trick you. Don't allow them to, if you like, take away from the right of the husband. They'll be like, hey, how can he do this to you? You two are the same. If you come across a sister like this, wallahi, stay away from her, run away from her, close your doors to her, say to her, listen, sister, I don't want anything to do with you. Delete her phone number. Block her on Instagram. Wallahi, because your life depends on it. I mean, like not just this world, life, your hereafter depends on it.
Like they said, misery loves company, right? That's what they say. And also, it leads to another thing. I mean, just general nasiha. If a woman is married, why would you be taking your issues to a single woman? Why would you be even seeking advice from somebody who's not in that situation, never accomplished anything to say in a relationship aspect to give you any type of nasiha? So
if you're gonna seek advice, go and look up to a sister who's been married for 30 years. She'll benefit you, sir.
Exactly, 100%.
You're gonna go to someone who got divorced. Okay, she got divorced. What can she share with you other than negative stories and things that are not good?
Or maybe even jealousy. You know, they see what you have and they see how it's moving, and they want that same thing, but instead they're like, and they give all the negatives. So this is something that's a reality that you gotta be wary of. You gotta be aware of this. You gotta be worrisome of. As far as the advice to the early married couples, and I'm trying to make the podcast that long, but just give it really short. I would say, I think you touched on it, is that one thing is definitely patience. First off, I would say you have to start learning. You have to start learning the rights of each other, learning how to deal with each other, and there's an aspect of of course the books and learning what Allah Ta'ala has obliged upon you and upon her, etc. But there's also the aspect of being patient upon things that you may not like that happens. And I think you mentioned already, like there is no perfect spouse, right? And these are things that develop over time. Like I mentioned earlier, there's like milestones. There's like that 2 year and that 5 year and that there's times which, and I'm not perfect by no way, shape or form. I'm talking just from experience as well, that there's going to be times where, and me, when I got married, I was only Muslim for maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
So I came with a whole bunch of misconstrued concept of what marriage could be or should be, the Disney life stuff. Then there's like, not really having no clear guidance as far as what actually is a prosperous marriage, because I didn't have, that looking up when I was growing up to see, as an example. So, you're learning on the fly. So you have to make sure you're being patient, but always be sincere to Allah to try to get better, both the husband and the wife. And, with this, I think, inshallah, if you can be patient and you can uphold each other's rights, and you can be, have mercy and a little bit tasammuh, a little easygoing and lenient with different things that may happen, as long as they don't repeat. And I'm talking about just basic. I'm not talking about something major. I'm not talking about, obviously if there's something that's leading to...
You have to accept this.
Obviously if there's something that's leading to like this extra, like this person is doing something which is completely haram. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something which is deficiency on like its core value. Like this is a basic level. Personality wise, more so to say. Yeah. Not somebody who's committing zina every week. That's not what that's not what I'm saying.
Of course
I'm not somebody who's drinking khamr every week. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm talking about I'm talking about personal things
someone that doesn't pray.
Or somebody who I'm not talking about none of that. These are major things that obviously you should flee from this individual, if they're doing these things on a weekly basis or a frequent basis, whatever the case may be.
Protect us.
The
Prophet mentioned in the hadith, لا يفرق مؤمنا مؤمنة.
نعم.
إن رضي منها خلق أو إن سخط إن كره منها خلق رضي منها آخر.
نعم.
That let not a believing man, if you like, how would you translate it? Look down upon or
look down upon his believing wife from something that he doesn't like from her.
If there's something, if there are, Prophet mentioned, if there are characteristics that you dislike, there are those characteristics that you like. So nobody is 100% perfect.
Exactly.
And nobody is 100% evil.
Exactly.
Right? Within those boundaries that we've mentioned, it's just about living with these sort of things and accepting them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's why I'm saying to you, at the beginning it might be difficult, but I guarantee you, if you get to 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years of marriage, yes, some things will improve and some things you just grow to accept them. Like, okay, khalas, this the person, this the way he is.
Exactly.
I've tried, but it's not going to change. I just have to live with this and rather focus on the good things, because you're not going to find someone who ticks all of the boxes.
100%.
And if that's what you're looking for, then maybe marriage is not for you. And the Prophet mentioned that a woman is created from a rib. And the most crooked part of the rib is the top. I.e. the tongue.
Yes.
His advice to all of the husbands out there.
No.
You're going to hear things, okay? Some of the worst feelings you'll feel in your life are going to be as a result of something you've heard from your wife, right? So that tongue, sometimes it can say things that can really, really send you to a roller coaster of emotions. When that happens, seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the shaitan. Calm down, don't act upon it.
Go make wudu, walk away.
Go make wudu,
leave the
walk
house
away.
If you have to.
Walk away. That's so important.
Just
honestly,
walk away.
No, honestly, this is so important. When things get heated, just walk away. Just walk and have a distance. Don't perpetuate. Don't allow it to continue.
Which also to the new people who are getting married, them things do happen.
They will happen.
Don't now, like because some people they place too much emphasis on it. It happens and they're like, this marriage isn't good for me, or this isn't a good situation, or it happens. It's normal. You are two different human beings with two different backgrounds, two different upbringings.
Or akhi, they'll read the narration from Imam Ahmed.
Yeah.
Abdullah, they never had an argument ever since to be married. Ya akhi, هذا Imam Ahmed, that's his wife.
These are exceptions to the rule. So there's a rule and then there's exceptions to the rule. Yes. The exceptions to the rule is this. But
there's a problem though. They read narrations from the Salaf about some of the righteous women of the Salaf. And then they'll try and compare that to their wife. La,
you can't do
that. You are not Imam Ahmed. Why is she going to be Abdullah? True.
Yeah.
So Allah al-Musta'an. The reality is There's so much to be said.
There's really so much to be said about that, to be honest. But at the end of the day, the Prophet ﷺ showed us how to be patient with these different type of affairs. The companion shows how to be patient with these type of affairs. And that's how we have to be. We have to be patient and take them as role models for how to move forward. And again, there's really so much advice that can be given in this, because I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, I got a message between me and you, or between the viewers now. I got a message. I got a message recently where somebody was asking, how do I go about getting a khula? A brother messaged me on behalf of the sister, and it's just sad because it's like, okay, did you guys go to any marriage counseling? Did you guys try to rectify this first? There's children involved, and it's like they've been married for some time, and I mean, obviously they're only telling me part of the story, but at the same time, it's like, I think we need to take these different steps before automatically throwing everything out the window. Jumping to a khula, jumping to divorce in a situation where, especially when there's children involved and things like that. I mean, there can be things that there can be reignite that marriage by way of taking proper steps.
Yeah, this shows us the beauty of our Sharia as well.
No.
In terms of when a husband divorces his wife, she has to stay with him until her iddah period is over, at his home. Why? All of that in order to reignite the kindle, the fire, in order for them to reconcile and everything. And in Islam, divorce is not like, I've divorced you, khalas, we're divorced. La.
Yeah.
You divorced, there's still a period of time
Sahih.
where you're still husband and wife.
That's what the talaq though, yeah.
The talaq, that's iddah.
Yeah.
You're still husband and wife, right? And that period has to finish
100%.
before she actually becomes, not your wife anymore. And all of that period is why. So many rulings in our religion to preserve the marriage.
Sahih.
Okay, to reignite the whatever. So take those steps, yani. Don't run towards divorce, yani.
Yeah, man, there's really a lot that can be unpackaged with this, man. And a lot that can be talked about. SubhanAllah, I think we could just end it right there, though, because if we keep going, it's going to turn into hours long of podcasting.
Yeah,
maybe we could do another sequel if that's something that the people are interested in.
Definitely. We'll see what questions people ask, but obviously when it comes to marriage, it's one of those things that each question is going to be different. Each situation is different.
Yeah.
So it's all about having the bigger picture.
Sahih.
Understanding the principles behind it.
Sahih.
Sticking to these principles. And I guarantee you, if you benefit from Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaidi's lecture and other lectures to do with about akhlaq, and you just generally speaking, you treat your wife for the sake of Allah. You treat her good for the sake of Allah, and the wife does the same. You treat her the way you want to be treated, and you fulfill your rights, and that's your focus, and not you fulfill the rights that are upon you, and that's your focus, and not the rights, or not your rights that are upon her.
No.
I think these three principles only, and there are others. If you just put these in front of you, and you live by these principles, believe me, all the other details are irrelevant.
Sahih.
They'll fix themselves, yani.
Allahu Akbar. So with that, I think it's a good place to stop. Also, there's one book that I probably would recommend. There's a book from Sheikh Fawzan. It's been translated, and it's about the I can't remember the title. I'll put it in the description, but it's about the maintaining the Muslim household or something along these lines. I'll put it in the description. I'll put it on the screen. However, that's one book that I would definitely suggest that all the viewers and listeners go and read, because it has a lot of clear-cut guidance in it that will help you out and show that also the purposes of some of these kuffar who are trying to attack our households, and more specifically the woman, and trying to get her to corrupt her, because if you corrupt the woman, which is the source of the household, then everything can be pretty much brought down from the inside. Yeah. So that's one book that I'll definitely recommend, and I'll stop there. And Jazakumullah Khair for listening and tuning in this week. As
don't forget to
our
like,
brother
comment,
Muhammad
subscribe.
says, yep, always remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Jazakumullah Khair. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad.